where low shack at. The bottles getting nippy up the crack and we stacking chips. All of it's what I want. Plus money winners, that's what I'm on. You can say I'm gone. I prefer elevated public sports radio. Time to get educated, get produced. Leave the juice, letting loose with so much abuse that the bookies wanna call it truth. They getting slaughtered. Can't forget Jeff and low baggers in the chat. That's a lethal weapon, cause we be pubbing.
What up, cappers, gamblers, punters, hustlers, low baggers? Happy Friday, December 22nd to all of you. Thank you for watching Betting with the Bag right here on Pub Sports Radio. It's been a successful week. Moving on the Saints during the show yesterday hurt me. So I ended up 6-4, but 6-3 without that NFL edition. And I made a lot of money on live last night, plus 9.5 and the over 40.5. I guess a lot of money is probably the wrong way of putting it, but it was despite losing 250 on the side, I had a strong night in NFL, but it was a poor look, and that's upsetting. In NHL, 3-3 plus 0.13 units. It's a real roller coaster ride. Everybody's unit size is different, but I was really uncomfortable. I was sitting there. I mean, the Predators, I thought I had the right look in that Knights game, but then the back-to-back penalties, Pietrangelo flipping it over the glass, and 5-on-3. And so the Knights in the under 6.5 fell apart. Knights did come back, and then I was sitting there with the Predators, Flyers tied 2-2, with the Predators money line and the Flyers team total under 3. Shout out to Gokster, who had the 2.5 at plus money. Then I had the Canadiens down 2-0 and the Oilers down 3-2 after being up 2-0. And I was like, oh, God, I was very, very, very uncomfortable. But the Oilers cashed, the Predators cashed, and then the Flyers team total under 3 cashed. So then when we got into overtime with Montreal, Minnesota, a huge score was waiting for me. Huge score if Montreal got the goal. But Kaprizov got it with a few seconds left in overtime. And Wild had the puck the whole time. So 3-3 plus 0.13 units. So is what it is. College basketball, the Kansas State idea and look from Dabby Cab, which we jumped on as well, was glorious. First half, full game, cash, 21-8. 21-8 in college basketball. Keeping things really tight. 17-2 run, plus 14.8 units. 17-2. Then in NBA, Wizards cashed. I mean, they made it a little sweaty at the end, but it was, pretty easy. They were in control all game until the end. It was, the first of a back-to-back. They play again tonight, and they start resting players down the stretch. But NBA strong, 35-19, 64.8%, 14.68 units, ROI 27.19%. We have and Trevor Siemian will start Sunday versus the Commanders, according to Adam Schefter. That was just sent to me from Jose. So that will get me off of the Jets. There was a couple spots, the Panthers and the Jets. And I was like, look, I could stay off of these spots. But I want the Chiefs so bad. That's the only addition I'm trying to figure out. I guess it's just the first half and full game spot. I kind of want them -3 at plus money in the first quarter. But, the divisional dog, I just feel like they need to send a statement. I think it's a statement game. And then we heard from Ramon Scott all of the edges and angles against the team who breaks their franchise record winning streak, points in a game. 1-12 against the spread. I mean, I have it copied and pasted in one of my worksheets, but there you go. Great to see all of you guys in the chat. So 6-4 yesterday, but it was a profitable day, and it could have been, one goal away from that plus 175 Habs. I mean, that's a big, whatever. Let's not get caught up in it, but it's a big difference if that catches. Shout out to all the cappers rolling with us. So this is our holiday schedule. Now the tournament is not up. I've been told it will be up today, but 1 week from today, Friday, December 29th, we're having our holiday poker tournament, $50 buy-in, and we listened to you guys from all the cappers who were in the tournament last month. So it's $50 buy-in. Late registration, open for an hour, breaks every hour, 150 big blinds you start with. But there's a couple caveats now. You can rebuy for the first hour, right, until the first break. But at the break, there's a $25 add-on for 2,000 chips. So you start with 3,000 chips. Blinds are 10, 20, 150 big blinds. And then the next move is a $25 add-on after an hour for 2,000 chips. That is the situation. So that is a week from today, December 29th, Friday, December 29th, right there. And then there will be no NFL Pub Hub on Sunday, Christmas Eve. There will be no Sunday or Monday NFL live streams, Christmas Eve and Christmas. I'm taking those 2 days off. But we'll be back with Bankroll Blitz on Tuesday, the 26th. And then Wednesday, the 27th, Thursday, 28th, Friday, 29th, just like normal, betting with the bag. And then that night, Friday night, we have the poker tournament. That's the situation here. Great to see all of you guys. Ron Crawford says, listen to the Cappers contest after work, and the LA Chargers were erroneously mentioned at 87%. It was the Rams at 87%. Hopefully we played them last night. Sadly, that's the first mistake we have made. We just went over it with Jose. Jose is checking out a house today for him and Helga, so he's not here. He has set up the graphics for me, but I'll be on double duty here. I can't believe we didn't catch it, and we screwed up. Thank God. Well, not thank God, but we're coming off a horrible week, so we're out of the running now. But it was a mistake. It's the first mistake we made in 2 years, Ron. Good catch, and I wish we caught it, man. It's too bad. Too bad. NHL spreadsheet play today is in from Ron Crawford. It is the New York Rangers minus 140. I only have one bet in NHL, and I'm very confident in it. And I added a little bit to it. Just a quarter of a unit extra than normal. But I really like it. Andrew G. Went 6-0 last night with his action. I love hearing that, Andrew. Great work. The new worker in the house says Kentucky. Says Kentucky USF and the Rams made for a great night. It was a great night. Do you mean Kansas State? Because we all cashed with Kansas State, but maybe you got your cash with Kentucky as well. And Nuclear said the Leafs got smashed, so there's that too. Yes, that was a wild 9-3 loss. Joey Harb in the house. Great to see all of you guys. Stacks play today is in. It is a UAB plus 3.5. Let me copy and paste that right now. UAB plus 3.5. Here we go. So we have a 4-game NHL card, and then we pick 10 games in college basketball to attack. And then and those will both be with Bobano as it is Friday. And then we have LJ from HTown closing it up with 6 games in NBA. Fly White Mike in the house. Real Deal Prime. TJ says, driving to New York, stuck in traffic. Won't be commenting today, just listening to your beautiful voices. No one has ever said that to me in my life, DJ. Sammy Culmer in the house says, in addition to Rafa to win Aussie Open at 22-1, he'll be on Kachanov at 120-1. Look at that. Huge scores there. Thank you, TJ says, great call in Edmonton. Yeah, it was it was best bet of the night. And I've won again. So I was really confident in it. Lindy Ruff, tried to out-coach us, and that pulling Schmidt, right away, right off the top was a brilliant move. He's a great coach, and it almost drove them to victory, but it didn't come through. Harold Williams 3-1, 1-0 in NBA last night. Great to hear that. Straight 420 in the house has catch the Oilers Preds. Yeah, that was real. We were like. You guys know what I'm going to say about the Flyers, and we'll get into that here, and I don't need to harp on it now. Mel says, what a night. Cashed both draws. Wild plus 400. Stars plus 360. Also cashed Oilers team total over. Only loss was Vetrano's shots on goal. I love hearing that. Philly Eagle Flyers is so close to catching 2-2 Flyers after 60 minutes. There's Slatsy now. Says Rams and Jimmy's best bet of the day. Oilers, nice parlay. Wings, money line, Rangers -1 locked in. I love that. And Sammy Comer said, would you ever consider sprinkling the draw with your NHL underdogs to cover the pain of losing in OT or shootout? It's something that Bobano does very well. It's an interesting idea. I try to keep things very clean, but it's something I should definitely think about, Sam. You're absolutely right. There's Billy Friedrich in the house. Harold Williams, Subhuman Gaucho, D. Jenkins. We got Nasty Nate. North Ender, DC Capper, Jay Peasy, Morgan Spooner says getting ready to head to Vermont versus Miami of Ohio. Perfect. We're talking about that game. We're breaking that game down. So we should get after it because our first game in college basketball. Now, it's after 4 NHL games, but we'll get there in time. It is at 12 p.m. It is UMass Lowell at Boston University, so we'll be hammering that. There's Rodney Barton. Merry Christmas to you. Jessica Easton in the house. Brent Vini. Great to see all of you guys. Serious business. Saturated. Thank you guys for joining us. Let's get right to work. So if I forget a graphic or something like that, just let me know, and because I'm going to be hammering this on my own. But thank you to Jose for hooking us up with all of the graphics for us. So I'm ready to rock. Let me see how we got this up. Beautiful. All right, let's bring on the star of Fridays here on Betting with the Bag. Also the star of our live streams in NFL on Thursdays and Monday. Star of Hitting the Books, our hit college football show. Every bowl game broken down right now, all the way up to the semis. Those are broken down as well. Everything broken down by our next guest and his partner, Connor Mack. Please welcome from Canada's black and yellow, Hamilton, Ontario, Mr. Ian Cameron to the show. Bobano, how are you, my friend?
Yeah, I'm good, Jimmy. That's a great point. Check out all the bowl game previews from both Connor and I on the Hitting the Books show. All the individual bowl game preview clips are up as well. So make sure you get on that. We give you our opinions. Now, things can change, obviously, between when we recorded the videos and the kickoff in terms of opt-outs and player availability. But at the time, we give you pretty much all our opinions on every game. And if you watched, you would have cashed with South Florida, because I know C-Mac and I both liked South Florida a little bit last night in the bowl game. So make sure you check those out.
I love it. Yeah, and the Ragu also gave a South Florida team total over and South Florida money line first half on our show yesterday. So a lot of great cappers together on South of Florida. And I did not put in, and this is my fault, I did not put in the college football game. How did I mess that up? I did not put the college football game into our breakdowns. We should hammer that after college basketball. Bobano, the Georgia Tech game. And I apologize for not listing that. I don't know how.
Oh, yeah, there is a bowl game tonight. Yep.
Yeah. And Mike M says our entire panel was on South Florida. What a no sweat casher. Great job, you guys. All right, let's roll into NHL. And you had a very strong show here last Friday. 4-4 because the San Jose Arizona game hurt you, but still plus 2.88 units. That went along with your NCAA basketball 7-4 plus 2.28 units. So you were up over 5 units on our show last week. Shout out to Mikey M gifting a Pub Sports Radio membership. Scarminati getting it. Mikey M, you are a good man. Let's roll and let's get paid. We get into NHL. We start with Philadelphia Flyers at the Detroit Red Wings. Little Caesars Arena in Detroit, Michigan. Carter Hart expected to return against James Reimer. Look, we know Reimer's not a starting goaltender, but he's an adequate backup. You know, in fact, you could even say he's a good backup if you wanted to. You might not say he's a good goalie. I mean, it just depends how you see it, but he's a steadying influence as a backup goaltender. And we know that these Red Wings are dealing with injuries to Husso and Alex Lyon, as well as center Klim Kostin, who provides some toughness and size and speed, and right winger Matt Luff. The Flyers are on the second half of back-to-back after having their 3-game winning streak snapped in a 4-2 loss at home versus Nashville last night. Philly's a healthy group. Only Noah Cates is out of the lineup. Philly's power play will hurt them more and more as the season goes on. 10.8%. They just can't score on it. Their penalty killing is very good, 86.3% on the season. And Detroit is in the midst of this 4-game losing streak. You know, they're coming off that 5-2 loss at the Jets on Wednesday night. 21.8% power play, 78.5% penalty killing. And wow, does that scare me. Sammy Comer says the Wings are now minus 125 on Pinnacle. So that does scare me. I've been saying all year that the Flyers have been excellent. Don't get me wrong. They're playing really good hockey, but I do believe they're overvalued in the marketplace. And I moved on the Red Wings last night as soon as I could, before it was available on Pinnacle, at -1 at about plus 116. And I really thought that I was going to beat this line move. It got up to it opened at Pinnacle minus 125 at 5 in the morning. Look, you know, I thought I was going to beat the line move. It got up to minus 136 at 10 in the morning, but we've moved back to minus 125. I'm a little upset to see that. It doesn't really concern me because I have a strict a belief that the Philadelphia Flyers aren't as good as their numbers indicate. and then I'm going to stick by it. And I got paid with it last night, and I expect to get paid with it here again. From a total standpoint here, we are dealing with a 6. I thought about moving on the under, but this did open up at 6.5. And Detroit is the issue. Although, if you look at Detroit lately on the road, they're allowing a ton of goals. At home, they're playing pretty good hockey and pretty tight hockey. So look, I look, the lines moved against me. It is what it is. I think this is the best bet on the board in NHL tonight. I think this is a perfect opportunity for the Detroit Red Wings to bounce back. I think that they're much better than this last 4 games would have anybody believe. And I just think this is set up for them to bounce back, because not only are the Flyers on a back-to-back, but they're on a back-to-back with travel. And then I know that we've been maybe overvaluing the back-to-backs, and maybe an easier situation than we imagine for some of these athletes, and that's totally fair. And we've been watching, especially in NBA, the team on the second half of back-to-back cash, but on that first game, look pretty vulnerable because of time restrictions on their stars. I think Detroit is a slam dunk here. Take it away, Bobano. Flyers, Red Wings.
That's confidence. I give you that. That's really good that you feel that way. If you're confident, stay with it. Absolutely. It does feel like a very good spot for Detroit. I will say that. I can't lay a price with them right now. I just can't. They're not playing well. They're struggling defensively. The offense has gone south. They do get David Perron back. His suspension's over. That certainly will help. And you would think, it kind of feels like Utah-Detroit, though, for me. There's a Utah-Detroit NBA vibe for me with this game. This feels like this is the spot to snap the losing streak for another Detroit team, funny as that may be. And I stayed off the Pistons yesterday because I felt that they could capable of screwing it up, a spot that's so obvious that they should win it. And I feel Detroit Red Wings, the hockey team, is capable of screwing it up right now. And then you look at the way Philadelphia is playing right now. They're playing great. They're 3-1 on the second night of back-to-backs this year. They've had 4 back-to-back spots. They're 3-1 in those games. They saved, I believe, Carter Hart for this game tonight here after giving Ersson the start last night. The power play's bad. Everything else about the Flyers game has been solid. I mean, the defense has been good. The penalty kill's strong. They're getting contributions from multiple players in the lineup right now. I don't love that the Red Wings are banged up in goal. I haven't been impressed with Reimer, quite honestly, the last couple of games we've seen him, but they have no choice because they got to go to him now with Lyon and Husso on the sidelines. So this is a pass for me this game. I'd lean to the draw, but it just didn't quite make my criteria. Didn't check all the boxes, but Philadelphia has been a team I've been looking at draws with lately. Just not sure tonight's the night.
The comparison to a 4-game losing streak and a 21-game losing streak, I was the same with you. Like, we heard cappers that I respect on the Pistons, but I was like, I can't do it. Here, if before this 4-game losing streak, the Red Wings were in a playoff spot. So, Reimer's been fine. I mean, he's never been good. He's just been fine. He's been adequate as he has been. And the line moving against me, and I'm steadfast. This is, for me, the best bet on the board. And you guys have seen with my NHL, with my best bets on the board, they're running hot, and I love this spot. I love the opportunity for a bounce back. So we'll see how it banks out. That's game number 1. That is Flyers, Red Wings. Let's move on to our next spot on the board. We head over to the Madison Square Garden, New York Rangers at home, and Ron Crawford has given us the spreadsheet play of the day. Spreadsheet play of the day is on these New York Rangers here at -140. And shout out to our guy, Ron Crawford. We have Edmonton Oilers starting Stuart Skinner. He is listed, and I should have been paying closer attention. Oh, it's Pickard last night, of course. Pickard, of course. Okay, so we have Skinner starting tonight, going up against Igor Shesterkin, who's not been very good. You can't say that about many New York Rangers this year, but he's one of them you can say that about. Edmonton power play at 26.7. Oh, and quick expected, says Slatsy. Quick expected, and Billy Free's saying quick likely. Okay, well, that is a bit of a a twist here. Edmonton 26.7% power play, 78.3% penalty killing. New York Rangers 31.3% power play, 85.3% penalty killing. Their special teams has been spectacular. Oilers on the second half of a back-to-back after defeating the Devils 6-3 last night in Jersey. That was my best bet on the board last night. Oilers are a healthy group, only Dylan Holloway out of the lineup. Rangers coming up for third straight win, 5-2 at the Leafs on Tuesday. And, 3 pucks went in off skates. It was a fortunate situation, but, they're playing good hockey. Rangers being without Philip Hedl and right winger Capo Caco, but both are very close to returning. In fact, there's rumors that maybe one of them will be in the lineup this evening. Both are close to returning. Let's take a look at the line history. First off, this total 6.5 minus 123 to the over. Opened up minus 115 to the over. We have an 8-cent move to the over. And from a money line standpoint here, the Rangers with the goaltending announcement change are down to minus 116. This Rangers team at 657 this morning was minus 158. I mean, I wonder if that could be considered an overreaction to who is in between the pipes here. That is a huge move to the Edmonton Oilers. Take it away for us here, Bobano, Oilers, Rangers at MSG.
Yeah, Jonathan Quick getting the start. Keep in mind, many of the teams playing tonight are also playing tomorrow. So that's going to factor into some of the goaltending decisions that we see in terms of who's going to be in and between the pipes for tonight's games. And I think you're seeing that they'll save Shesterkin for the game tomorrow that the Rangers are playing on Saturday. Edmonton, nice win for them last night, 6-3 against New Jersey. It wasn't looking good for a period of time. And then that third period onslaught right at the beginning of the third, it was just bam, 3 straight quick goals. And they end up going up 5-3. They win 6-3. It was a really good night for everyone. The best players for the Oilers all brought it last night. McDavid, Draisaitl, excellent. They were solid in their own end for most of the game. Pickard was even pretty good. Pickard's now actually won both starts he made against New Jersey this year, so you give him credit for that. Back to Skinner in net tonight. Stuart Skinner for the Oilers. Rangers, of course, with Jonathan Quick. Rangers have won 3 in a row since that Toronto loss at Madison Square Garden. They've certainly played a lot better hockey. See if they can keep it rolling here tonight against this Oilers team. I like over in this game. I agree with the total going up slightly here in this one. I definitely think that we're going to see a few goals. The Rangers have actually been a very good offensive team of late. You look at what they've been able to do. They've scored at least 3 goals in 4 of the last 5 games, other than the game against Boston where they got into a bit of a slog in that game, which is not surprising. Boston's been playing that way most of the season, and especially lately. Edmonton went through a little bit of an offensive funk. But they broke out of it last night against New Jersey. I think they're capable of finding the back of the net here. And I love the way Quick's playing. And he's been excellent. I'm not taking anything away from Jonathan Quick. But there's also a part of me that says, is the way he's currently playing in net, this 9-0-2 run, sustainable? I'm not so sure. And if you look at the last couple of games, he faced Anaheim in his last game. It's a weaker opponent. Going to be tested here with the offensive capabilities, obviously, that Edmonton has. So for me, it's over 6.5 minus 124 at Heritage.
Over 6.5, just copy and pasting Joe T's action. Over 6.5, minus 124 for Bobano, and Bobano is locked in. Sammy Cummings says Flyers, Oilers, Jets, Habs are all off for Christmas after tonight, whereas Red Wings, Rangers, Bruins, and Hawks all play tomorrow. And North Henderson, why would the line drop so much when Quick being better than Shiesty? They don't. I mean, come on. It's the sample size is too small to say that, this perennial Vezina Trophy award finalist would not be the man you want in between the pipes. And Johnny Quick, as he has been good overall, but he's either phenomenal or bad. So he doesn't really have a in-between so far this year. Let's roll on, though. There's Red Girl in the house. We got Paco Healy rolling with us. Troy Torrance, Nut Flush, Allen, Fanatical Jim, Mikey Money, Gold 44. Great to see all of you guys. Let's roll on to the next spot on the board, and that is the Boston Bruins at Winnipeg Jets. Let me move over here and get this locked in. Here we go. Bruins 19-5-6, 9-3-3 on the road at Winnipeg Jets, 19-9-3, 10-5-2 at home. We're at Canada Life Center, Winnipeg, Manitoba. Linus Ullmark, Connor Hellebuck listed. Let me know if that's right. Ullmark 10-4-2, 2.86 goals against average, 9-12 save percentage against Hellebuck, 15-6-2, 2.43 goals against average, 9-16 Sabre sends one shout out. Ron Crawford says, love Winnipeg. My concern about, and I'm off of this spot. I've wanted McAvoy and Zaka to come back so badly, and they came back, and the Wild played an excellent game without Zuccarello and cost me. That was on Tuesday. But this team, Zaka is so important. You need Geeky not to be a first line centerman. No disrespect to Geeky. You need Charlie Coyle really not to be a top 6 forward or need him offensively. If those things happen, then this team is, extremely deep and extremely talented. And they've lost 2 straight and 3 of 4. And I would like to back them, but I don't want to back them on the road as a favorite against the Jets. They open up at -124. They're now -122. There was a move towards the Jets. It's come back. This is a Jets team that I believe in very much. They're going to make the playoffs. They're going to be a tough out. They have all the pieces. They've a goalie you can trust in Hellebuck. They have a Norris Trophy finalist in Morrissey. And they have a group of forwards, a top 6 group of forwards that some are elite. And, in Connor and Scheifele can do so many things. And the Ehlers can step up offensively. And then you've got some young kids coming up like Perfetti, who I believe in very, very much. And on the defensive front, you've got Pionk stepping up in a big way and DeMello playing huge minutes alongside Morrissey. And I don't want to fade. I certainly don't want to fade the Jets as a home dog. And I don't want to fade the Bruins because I think they're going to start winning hockey games. So I'm sort of betwixt and in between, and I'm going to stay off at this point. This total, though, down to 5.5. This opened up. The under 5.5 was plus 104. It's now minus 104, so we have an 8-cent move there. Take it away for us here, Bobano, Bruins, Jets, Canada Life Center.
Yeah, it's actually been an under series, 4-1. The last 5 meetings have gone under with the Bruins and the Jets. Hey, we can't get through this card without having a draw on my card, and this is it for me. This is clear as day. This is the game that stands out like a sore thumb from a draw perspective. Boston's gone to overtime or a shootout in 4 straight games coming into tonight. The Devils game, the Islanders game, the Rangers game, and then against Minnesota the other night. The Jets, have a propensity to not exactly always blow teams out. I mean, they did against Colorado at home and Detroit, but I'm talking about, on a consistent basis. They also went to overtime against Montreal. We've seen them play a couple of other 1-goal games in the last 10 that almost went to overtime. And I expect the Bruins now, after, 2 straight losses, to really focus in on, probably being a little bit tighter defensively just because they gave up the 4 goals to Minnesota and a 3rd period lead the other night. You've got 2 very capable goalies in net, Allmark and Hellebuck as well in this matchup. I kind of lean to the Jets too, just based on the price. I mean, to me, this is a price I think is value on Winnipeg right now because they're in better form right now than Boston, no doubt. But I'm kind of with you, Jimmy, where I think I don't want to bet against Boston with a price like this after 2 straight losses. You would think a team like with their pedigree and their history of avoiding extended losing streaks may eventually figure it out at some point. So the clear choice for me is the draw. I like it quite a bit and pretty good price as well. And make sure if you're going to bet these draws, see if you can bet them at FanDuel. The prices seem to be at their absolute best there. Plus 340 for the draw here, Boston, Winnipeg at FanDuel.
Plus 340 for the draw. Yeah, 4 straight to the extra session, 3 in overtime. And they lost all those overtime games. They won the shootout game. So 20 minutes of 3-on-3 overtime. And this is a really good example of this Boston Bruins team. 20 minutes of 3-on-3 and 0 goals. Things have changed. And now a lot of that was without Zaka, but they just don't have offense down the middle of the ice. And it hurts them. Londo, are you talking about Joe T? Joseph Thompson? He's in the chat right now. You might be talking about Joe T, and he's dropped his action here in the chat. JP says, man, what happened to the guy that used to pop in with Poland and Finland hockey plays? Those were money. I'll reach out. I'll reach out to him, see how he's doing getting back in action. There's a couple guys that we haven't seen in a minute that you just want to reach out and make sure that all's good. So I will I will reach out and get him back in action. Let's move on to the final spot on the board here in NHL. Before we get into college basketball, Joe T, who we just spoke of, is dropping action here. Nice call, Kyle Hintley on Calgary. That was beautiful. Joe T's also dropped action for that UMass Boston University game that's popping off here in 29 minutes. And we'll have time to cap it, so don't worry. Let's get into Montreal Canadiens, 14-13-4, 7-4-2 on the road at Chicago Blackhawks, 10-20-1, 6-8-1 at home. United Center in Chicago, Illinois. Jake Allen going up against Peter Mrazek. Allen, and that, let me know if this is right or wrong. Allen, 4-6-2, 3.43 goals against average, 904. Yeah, R2D2. Yeah, good call, guys. 904, save percentage, no shutouts. Peter Mrazek, 8-10-0, 3.04 goals against average, 9-10 save percentage, 1 shutout. Montreal power play, 18%, penalty killing at 73.2%. Chicago power plays being a big weak spot for them, 11.9%, penalty killing 74.5%. And before we really set this stage, actually, maybe we should do it. The injury reports for both these teams are the longest in the league, so we need to touch on that, but why don't we just set the table? Habs are on the second half of back-to-back after losing to the Wild last night in overtime 4-3. Blackhawks snapped their 4-game losing streak on Tuesday with a very impressive 3-2 win at home over Chicago. Now, they were outshot 37-22 in that victory, and they had, more power play opportunities than the Habs. I mean, they were just badly outplayed and fortunate to win. So this is the first of a back-to-back. They're in St. Louis tomorrow night as well. So let's get into the line history here and then discuss the injury report because it's mighty. This total is at 6. It's minus 102 to the under. It opened up at 6.5. So we've had, and this under was minus 111 an hour and a half ago. So it's a little bit of bounce back on the over, but a move to the under without a doubt. And then we have Chicago at minus 110 right now, opening up at minus 114, now at minus 110. And, I've backed Montreal now in 2 games in a row. They cashed for me, and then I backed them again against the Wild here. Oh, no, I didn't have them against the Jets. Sorry, I think, whatever. I've had them twice recently. I had them again last night, and it was they played pretty good. For a plus 175 dog, I know it went down about plus 150, but I was, they got down 2-0, they fought back. They got down 3-2, They fought back. I can't ask for more than that. You go into the extra session with a chance. But there's a ton of injuries with this team, and they seem to be handling it pretty well. Weidman, Jordan Harris out on defense. This is not a team with a bunch of depth defensively or up front where they have Tanner Pearson, Alex Newhook, Rafi, Harvey Pinard, and, of course, Kirby Doc out long-term. Chicago's the same situation. They have a ton of injuries. They have 4 defensemen out in Alex Vlasic, Kevin Korchinski, Jared Tenorti, and Seth Jones. Philip Kurashev is sick. We expect him to be back in the lineup. Andreas Athanasiou is out with the groin injury. He could be back here. So a ton of injuries, a ton of volatility in this game. Take it away, Bobano. Do you have a plan of action? Habs, Blackhawks at the United Center.
Yeah, 10 straight unders between the Montreal Canadiens and Chicago Blackhawks. It's one of the more remarkable runs you'll see in a head-to-head series that we've had 10 straight unders in the last 10 games between these two teams. We'll see if that continues tonight. You mentioned it. There's a lot of injuries on both sides. Montreal is obviously on a back-to-back here after being in Minnesota, so you do have rest advantage for Chicago in this game. If you look at Montreal, I'm trying to see what their back-to-back record has been this year. I'm just looking right now. It's 0-2, 0-3. Yeah, 0-3, 0-4. Wow. 0-5. Holy shit. 0-5 they are on a back-to-back this year, the Montreal Canadiens. So I was leaning Chicago anyway in this game. I will have a small bet on Chicago, but that's not the official bet. We're going back to the well with another draw here. It makes sense. I cashed a ticket with the draw last night with Montreal and Minnesota. Montreal has been playing nothing but one close game, tight game after another lately, going back to when they played Buffalo on December 9th. That game went to a shootout. There was a 1-goal regulation loss against Nashville that nearly went to OT, 4-3 shootout loss to Pittsburgh, a tight 5-3 game with the Islanders, which an empty net goal put it away. That was close to going OT, and then back-to-back going to overtime for the Canadiens against the Jets and the Wild. So this has been an overtime magnet lately, this Montreal team. Chicago at home plays more competitively. They played better at home, and they've played close games at home. 3-2 with Colorado, 4-3 with Vancouver, 1-0 with Anaheim. They didn't go to overtime, but they were close. The last 2 games in Chicago, head-to-head, Canadiens versus Blackhawks, both went past regulation to overtime or a shootout. So this checks all the boxes. Higher probability than expected for overtime or a shootout here, and that's what we'll go with. Second draw on the card. Montreal-Chicago draw, plus 350.
Plus 350 for Bobano. You are locked in. Let's review all action here on NHL. The Wings -1. Oh, sorry, Slatsy. I thought you were hammering me for the fact that I bet against the trend in the Minnesota-Montreal game. My bad. My bad to get defensive so fast. I'm on the Wings -1. I think it's the best bet on the card. And when I have best bets on the card where, there's multiple people in the chat saying, how could you bet that? Why would you bet? You got to say it always heightens. My ROI goes up. If I put a best bet in the chat where it was like, oh yeah, this is spot, then my ROI goes down. I don't know why it works that way, but it does for me. Then Bobano's on the over 6.5 in Oilers, Rangers. Ron Crawford on the Rangers for the spreadsheet play today. Bobano is on the draw at plus 340 in Boston, Winnipeg. And Bobano is on the draw plus 350 in Montreal, Chicago. That is our action in NHL. Let's move on to college basketball. A great performance by Bobano last week. Let's set this up here. A great performance by Bobano last week. 7-4 plus 2.28 units. And I'm in the midst of a monster run in college basketball. 17-2, my last 19 bets, plus 14.8 units. So I'm 21-8. You guys remember when I was 4-6? So, and that's the work of the cappers in the chat. We have Slatsy says he needs a birthday pick for Sunday, but no pressure. There's Slatsy, because it's Slatsy's birthday on Sunday. Slatsy, don't you want one for Sunday, though? Please let us know, because we can change that. We can give you one for today if that's what you'd like, Slatsy. But I was thinking of giving you one for Sunday for your birthday. And we love you, Slatsy. All right, let's get into work here in college basketball. We have a game popping off here in 21 minutes. So we do have afternoon action. I tried to find a balance for what I thought you guys would want. And so we have a 12 p.m. spot with UMass Lowell, Boston University. We have 1 p.m. James Madison, Morgan State. 1 p.m. Vermont, Miami of Ohio. 2 p.m. George Mason, Tulane. Then we get into night action. So I thought that would be a nice balance to give you guys 4 games, that we could bet this afternoon with a focus on this evening. Let's roll.
There's actually already a game going on because I've got it on television.
Yeah, the 11.
Drexel
the game,
and Bryant.
Yeah, the 11 a.m. spot. I've always just skipped the 11 a.m. spots here for us instead of just like hammering something right when the show starts. But is there something that you like live in that one that you want people to know about?
Well, Bryant's up by 11 with 2 minutes left in the first half. Nothing really. I have an over bet on this game, 134. And it moved up even after I bet it to like 136 and a half. So I'm just riding that out. I do think there's value on Drexel right now. Drexel was favored before this game started. So, and I think they're a pretty solid basketball team, but Bryant's having one of those games where they're hitting everything. They can be pretty tough in that home gym, that little home gym they've got there. But Drexel, I think, has a chance to maybe make it a little interesting in the second half. So Drexel live lean for me.
I like it. All right, let's get to work here in college basketball. So we start with UMass Lowell Riverhawks, 7-4, 4-3 on the road at the Boston University Terriers. It's my stepdad's alma mater. 4-7, 2-1 at home. We're at Case Gym in Boston, Massachusetts. Joseph Thompson has given us the over 138.5. Over 138.5 from our guy Joe T. UMass Lowell comes in off their second loss in 3 games, 57-54 at home on Saturday to Central Connecticut as 10.5-point favorites. It's a pretty ugly performance. Boston University comes in off their second loss in 3 games, 63-56 at Dartmouth as 2.5-point dogs. Both teams have been shooting very poorly. Let's get into the line history here for this one. We are again going to use Bet Online for these line history moves in college basketball because they get out to the market first. Don't forget about our poker tournament 1 week from today at Bet Online. We're going to have all of the information up soon, but it's 1 week from today, Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern. You guys wanted a Friday night poker tourney, so we thought this would be the right time. And don't forget also, we have a link. Now, we're going to put up the poker link because you can get a big bonus for poker. The problem with the sports bonus, because if you open up a new account, they'll give you 100% bonus up to $1,000, but then you can't switch that money over to the poker account. So we're going to be talking about those things and creating a way to get around it. But right now, we're 19 minutes away from this one popping off here. Boston University opening up as 4.5-point dogs. They moved to 4. They got down to 3 pretty quick, and they're right back at 4. We've had a half-point move towards Boston University, a half-point move. Get to the total here for this one. From a total perspective, we are sitting here at 139. We heard Joe T give us the over at 138. This went up to 139 25 minutes ago, and it didn't just go up to 139, but it went up to 139 juice to the over. So it's a pretty strong 139 to the over here. Let's get into the cash flow. You have 19% of the tickets on Boston University and 52% of the cash. Wow. That is that's more than I expected. 33% of the tickets and 83% of cash on the over. Clear, sharp money on the over. And at this point, I can't join everybody on, or the sharp, what I perceive as sharp action on Boston with the line moving a half point in their direction, just because of how bad UMass Lowell looked against Central Connecticut. I don't see how getting away from their home gym into Boston, they wouldn't be better. And maybe better is not quite enough here. So let's hear what Bobano has to say. But I was hoping to find a way to get on UMass Lowell. Take it away, Bobano. The floor is yours.
Yeah, this one, I agree with the move toward over in this game. I think UMass Lowell should be a better offensive team than maybe we've seen. They are a better offensive team than we saw against Central Connecticut State. I mean, look at their field goal percentage on the season is 48%. We know they can shoot the basketball. It was just a really bad game for them, in my opinion. I think you're going to see improvement from them here in this game against Boston. You look at the BU Terriers here. They're not exactly a team that you can always rely on and count on the defensive end. They're going to be playing the UMass Lowell team. It's going to be looking to speed things up a little bit. They're 120 in the country in tempo. And I think that's going to probably make things difficult on Boston because their transition D is a little suspect. So I'm in agreement here. It's a nice spot here to look over for a good offensive team that just had a really bad game. I certainly lean to them as a slight road favorite too. I just think at home here, Boston, we've seen them at times have some good shooting nights on this floor. I just prefer the total. Lean UMass Lowell, but I like the total. And there is a 137.5 still out there at PointsBet. So let's go with that. 137.5 minus 110 at PointsBet over the total.
You got it locked in, the over 137.5. This is a total that's climbing briskly. And this will also give us the opportunity for live betting action on these afternoon games. So I've got my account coming up right now so we can move on. Vinny V says first half UMass Lowell. You know, if we weren't going up against what I perceive as sharp action on Boston University, I would have figured out that would be a great angle. And maybe it still is. But I'm not. I've been keeping everything extremely clean, and my quantity of actions dropped considerably, and it's working. I'm just going to keep going. But Vinny V, I get it. What do you like that look for UMass Lowell to bounce back here in the first half?
I don't mind it. Like I just said, it's a rivalry game, right? It's two in-state teams, so that's what leaves me a little cautious about taking UMass Lowell. But I don't want Boston. I lean UMass Lowell. If I had to bet the side, it would be UMass Lowell. But I just thought the total was the clear option, the better option.
Yes, I get it, and I feel you. Sun Dizzle. All right, let's move. Sun Dizzle was live at the game last night, the Saints game. All right, and Nunez says, I think UMass Lowell is tougher if it gets close, if they get her done. So no action for me. We got Joe T and Bobano on the over. Again, this game starts in 14 minutes. Let's talk about a game that starts in an hour and 14 minutes. 1 p.m. Eastern. Oh, sorry, let me get this here. 1 p.m. Eastern, we have the number 20 ranked James Madison Dukes 11-0, 4-0 on the road at Morgan State Bears 4-9, 4-1 at home. We're at Hill Fieldhouse in Baltimore, Maryland. Let's get into the line history for this one. We'll start with the total of this one. It's very high. We're sitting at a 160.5. This opened up at 162 and it dropped all the way down to 159.5. There was a point of buyback at 8:30 this morning. We're sitting at 160.5. Let's get into the point spread here for this one. From a spread look, we are sitting here at James Madison as 21-point favorites. They opened up as 19-point favorites, and it got up to 20, back to 19, and then there was a big jump at 9:30 this morning up to 21. That's where we sit right now with James Madison as 21-point favorites. Taking a look at the cash flow, 61% of the tickets and 87% of the cash is on James Madison. 32% of the tickets and 72% cash is on this under. Madison continues their impressive run of easily beating up Cupcakes to start the year. They come in off an 87-48 dismantling of Coppin State at home on Tuesday night as 27.5-point favorites. Morgan State comes in off an 83-76 loss at Campbell on Monday as 10.5-point dogs. I find it hard to believe that James Madison is just going to be locked in this early start against, Morgan State at Hill Fieldhouse in Baltimore. But, clear big bets being placed on James Madison, and that 19.5 to 21.5 is a big move. Take it away for us here, Bobano, Dukes, Bears.
Yeah, this is one where, James Madison's a freight train. They're 10-0. They're great. They already, of course, got everyone's attention early in the season when they beat Tom Izzo and Michigan State. Other than, they had a 3-point home win against Radford and a 15-point non-cover win against Buffalo. And other than that, they've been absolutely freight training teams. They've actually been even better on the road, believe it or not, than at home. The road track record's been amazing for this team. They won and covered against Kent State, won and covered against the Southern Illinois Salukis. Fresno State going out west. They were only 4.5-point road favorites. They won by 31. They beat Old Dominion by 15. They beat Hampton on the road by 17. They've covered all of those numbers. They're just much better than Morgan State. And Morgan State, the last time we saw them at home against a D1 team was Longwood. They lost that game by 34 at home to Longwood, Morgan State. There is just such a huge gap between these two teams. So not something I do normally, but I'm laying the 20 here with James Madison. I think it's another rough blowout loss for the opponent playing this team. So I do like JMU here. We'll go with there's minus 20, minus 1. Let me see, minus 20, minus 115 at DraftKings.
Minus 20, minus 115 for Bobano. Locked in on the James Madison Dukes here. Let's roll on to the next spot on the board. 1 p.m. Eastern, the Vermont Catamounts, 9-4, 2-2 on the road at the Miami Redhawks of Ohio. 4-6, 3-1 at home. We're at Millett Hall in Oxford, Ohio. Let's get into the line history here for this one. We are sitting here with Miami of Ohio as 5-point dogs. They opened up as 6-point dogs, got up to 7.5-point dogs, and that was this morning at 3:45 in the morning. Then there's just been this constant move back towards the Redhawks, now down to 5. So we have a 1-point move towards the Redhawks. It is a bit of a confusing move if you respect the early money more than the late money. Then it is a bit of a confusing move here. From a total perspective, we are sitting at 137.5. It's heavily juiced to the over. This opened up at 139, dropped to 138, then 137.5. This was heavily juiced to the under 137.5 until 33 minutes ago when there was a 15-cent move to the over. Obviously, a big bet came in on the over. King Seth says Vermont for the win, but where's the underdog value at today? Let's pull up the cash flow here because you talk about underdog value. Well, we saw that with Vermont in their last game against Toledo in Toledo. Vermont right now, 80% of the tickets, 74% of the cash, and we have a move towards Miami of Ohio, a big one. That's very, very interesting. 56% of the tickets and 97% of cash is on the under. Vermont snapped their 2-game losing streak with an impressive 86-60 win at Toledo on Wednesday night at 6.5-point dogs. I mean, the idea, because we had CMAC on that show, was Vermont going to be able to go shot for shot with Toledo? And then, everything got flipped there. They shot 54.1% from the field and 37% from three in the victory. Are they going to be able to turn it on here at 1 p.m. against these Redhawks, who just come home now after a tough 3-game road stretch? Now, it was not a 3-game road trip. These games were very spaced out, but they lose 84-64 at Marshall, 79-61 at Davidson, before finishing up with a 92-82 loss at Wright State on Tuesday's 12.5-point dogs. It's interesting. They covered that game against Wright State, and Wright State shot 66.7% from the field in that one. And yet the Redhawks still covered. This is a really interesting situation here because, and I'd like you to touch on, do you expect Vermont to come close to being able to shoot the way they did against Toledo? And if they aren't able to, if that was an anomaly or an outlier, are we then able to fade them here? Take it away, Bobano, Catamounts, Redhawks.
Well, they've always been a pretty efficient offensive team. They play very slow under John Becker, who's been the coach here for a long time. It's been a good program. It's always been one of the best teams. They've owned this conference that they've been in the America East for a long time. But 54% in their game against Toledo, it's a little not. That's asking a lot to say that they are going to come back and shoot that well here against Miami O. That being said, you look at the statistics here. Miami O's not a great defensive team. They're going to play a pretty brisk tempo. They're not like extremely blazing fast as far as pace and tempo, but 165 in the country. But they're just not a very good defensive team. 302 in defensive efficiency this season. And when you look at the matchup in particular here going into it, you do have concerns about that here for this Miami O team. Now, the good news is, they're not bad at defending the three, but they've really been torn up inside as far as 2-point percentage. Scoring inside has been allowing it has been a problem for Miami O this season. Vermont off the road trip, we'll see how it goes. The total's dropped. I'm getting a little more interested now, maybe in an over, but Vermont's going to really try to slow things down. And after a big shooting night like the last game that Vermont had, not necessarily sold on them shooting that well, and they can play pretty capable defensive basketball at times. We'll see. I was on the over with Miami O and Wright State earlier this week. It was as easy as it gets, but both teams were going to run and play fast. That's not going to be the case here. So I ended up passing just a small lean to the over.
If this didn't initially move towards Vermont, it'd be a real clean way of moving on Miami. But I feel like I can explain things here, or at least why Vermont took the early cash. I think the bigger sign here is the fact that the markets moved so heavily towards Miami coming home. And this was not, again, I stress, this was not a road trip. It's 3 straight road games, but really spread out. I'm becoming more and more interested on moving on Miami plus the points here. I want to make sure that I can get that hook. I don't know why this isn't. What the hell's going on with my 365 here? Let me give that a second. Okay, here we go. I'm becoming more and more interested in this spot. I just want to see if I can get the hook here or what's the going on over at Pinnacle as well. So right now, they will. Oh, these are extra games, of course. Sorry, I guess I should be doing this while you're breaking down the next game. Just give me one more second here. We have. Ah, God. Okay, give me a second to pull all this up here. All right, it's going to take me a second. Okay, I'm having a problem with my 365. We'll have it up in a second. Okay, I'm very interested in Miami Redhawks, Miami of Ohio. We have an hour and 5 minutes till their game pops off, so we will be discussing that here as well. Let's talk about our final afternoon action here for us before we get into night games with Bobano. That's at 2 p.m. Eastern. We have the George Mason Patriots, 9-2, 1-1 on the road at the Tulane Green Wave, 8-2, 6-0 at home. They look very good at Devlin Fieldhouse in New Orleans. Let's take a look at the line history here. We'll start with the spread. This is George Mason as 4-point dogs here at Bet Online. They opened up at 4.5, got up to 5.5, then down to 3.5 this morning. So we're sitting here at 4. So there's been a half-point move towards George Mason. From a total scenario here, we have a 158 minus 114 to the under. This opened up at 157.5. It got down to 156.5 before it climbed back up to 158. So we have a half-point move here. Let's take a look at the cash flow then for this spot. On the total, 61% of the tickets and 95% of the cash is on the under. And on the spread, we have a real even situation, 42% and 45% on George Mason. George Mason comes in off its second straight win. It was a easy 84-60 victory at home over Div 3 Bridgewater College on Tuesday. Tulane comes in off its second straight win as well, 105-81 at home over the Southern Jaguars on Saturday as 14.5-point favorites. They shot 66.1% from the field and 47.8% from 3. Tulane's averaging 91.7 points per game this year. Take it away, Bobano. The Patriots head to New Orleans to face Tulane Green Wave. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, they are. I love this Tulane team. I love Ron Hunt. I've really loved this Tulane team since Ron Hunter got there because I just caught on to it early that, this team's going to start moving on up the pecking order with him at coach. And do they have their deficiencies? Yes. Do they struggle still at times defensively? Absolutely. We saw the Furman game as a perfect example of that. They've been an over machine. I have 2 bets here on this game, George Mason and Tulane. I'm on the Green Wave here as the short home favorite, and I'm on the over here in this game, both of them. Tulane's just been an over tear. What is it? 7 straight games have gone over the total here with this team. They just they're extremely fast. I think 6th in terms of possession length and tempo in the country. Yeah, 7 straight Tulane games have gone up and over the total. George Mason doesn't really play fast, but they're an efficient offense. And when they play teams that'll quicken the pace, we see they will go with that team. They'll run if the other team wants to, like the Cornell game, 173 points, like the Toledo game, 163 points. When they play someone that's fast, they're going to end up playing that way as well. So I think, though, at home, Tulane, though, price is a little bit cheap on them. We'll take them -3.5, -112 at Bet Victor, and we'll take over 156.5, -115 at FanDuel.
So sorry, let me get these numbers right. Over 156.5 at -115.
Yep, at FanDuel for the over, and Tulane -3.5, -112. Bet Victor.
Half at -112. Bobano is locked in. Nanya getting his day started off beautifully, ready to take a shot after cashing.
It's looking good. Don't say it's over yet. Crazy shit can happen in college, but it's looking good for Bryant. If anyone had Bryant, yeah.
And our guy Rodney Barton liking us mentioning Bridgewater College, mighty Bridgewater, Div 3. They played pretty good. They played pretty good. Okay, so I'm very close to moving here on Miami of Ohio here. I'm just kind of getting it all set up to do so. I will let you guys know as soon as the trigger is pulled. But it looks like that will be my lone afternoon action. But I will be looking to move live with you guys. So let me just get this set up here. So I'm close, and I will let you guys know when it's done here. Okay, so let's move on to the next spot on the board. So we head to evening action. So let's just review action here for all of you guys who want to make moves on afternoon action. Bobano and Joe T are on the over in UMass Lowell, Boston University. That game tips off in 1 minute. That's the over in UMass Lowell. Oh, shoot, I never moved over to this one. My bad. Sorry. Then Bobano is on James Madison -20 and -115. I'm about to be moving on the Miami Redhawks here, +5.5. And then Bobano is on Tulane -3.5, -112, and the over 156.5. So let's move on to night action now. And we got some big ones and some fun ones set up for us. So let's move on to the next spot on the board. Georgetown versus Marquette. Georgetown at Marquette. We have... Let's get to these 7 p.m. games, and here we go. We have Marquette sitting here as 17-point favorites. They opened up at 18.5. There's been a 1.5-point move towards Georgetown. Now, that first 1.5 move happened last night. So it's basically where, after 6 hours of being available, where it is the same spot. And then from a total look here, get this over here. Sorry about that. From a total look, we are sitting at 149.5. This opened up at 148.5 and climbed up to 151 before it came back down to 149.5. So we have a slight move to a 1.5 move to Georgetown, and then a 1 point move to the over, even though it has been dropping from its high water mark. When we take a look at where that puts us here, we have 68% of the tickets and 65% of the cash on Marquette. From a total perspective, we have no information. We know that there's 2,114 tickets in. It's 50-50 on the tickets, but we don't know the cash. Here's my guy, Don Play, in the house. And Justin McKelvey saying there's a 6 on Bet Rivers right now. 6 on Bet Rivers. I love that, Nunya. Respect. Love hearing that, my man. So Georgetown had their modest 2-game winning streak snapped in a 74-64 loss at Butler on Tuesday. They shot just 38.7% from the field in the loss, and that's just a common theme for the Hoyas. Marquette's topsy-turvy season continues, man. An ugly 72-57 loss at Providence on Tuesday is 4.5-point favorites. That game was attended by our very own Nasty Nate. They shot just 32.1% from the field and 20% from three. So if they hadn't have dealt with this loss, then I would like seeing this 1.5 move to Georgetown, and I would then move on Georgetown. But because Marquette just looked like ass clowns, I'm not going to have faith enough into the sharp action, what I perceive as sharp action. I'm not going to fade Marquette after the loss. So this puts me off unless the total becomes more and more appealing after Bobano's breakdown. Take it away, Bobano. Hoyas, Golden Eagles.
Yeah, I'm with you. If Marquette had won their last game and not played so poorly, I'd be interested in Georgetown with all these points. And look, Georgetown is definitely improved. And they're improved simply because they have a better coach. Okay. Patrick Ewing was just out of his element. All right. It was just not good there. Ed Cooley's a huge upgrade. Ed Cooley's a great coach. Did a great job at Providence. Knows what he's doing. And you've already seen the strides Georgetown's made with him as the head coach here. But I got a little fortunate with that cover with them against Butler the other night. Butler kind of went through the motions late, took their foot off the gas pedal, and they were up almost 18 at one point, and Georgetown got through the back door late. It's not like Georgetown was the right side in that game against Butler the other night. So it was a fortunate win for me. It doesn't give me ringing confidence that, look, I think they're getting better. I think they're improving a little bit defensively, although there's still room for improvement, and they are capable of scoring, Georgetown. But my goodness, I mean, you're going from Butler, who are an okay team in the Big East, you're going to one of the best teams in the country here in Marquette, and a team off a loss. Not only one of the best teams in the country, but off a loss at home where they're going to want to bounce back. And Marquette's A game is capable of blowing out Georgetown because there is still a class difference between these two teams right now. So I don't want to step in front of Marquette in this spot, but I do like the over here. This feels like a pile it on spot too for Marquette. You know, when their excellent point guard gets it rolling. Look out. Tyler Kolek is outstanding. I think he's probably going to be able to pick and roll Georgetown to death here in this game. And I think you're going to really see Marquette, after a really poor offensive night, really step things up tonight at that end of the floor. And like I said, with Georgetown, their defense has been bad for years. It's improving a little bit under Cooley, but I don't know if it's at the level yet where we can trust them to get stops against one of the better teams, better offensive teams in the country here in a spot where, you know, they're going to be chomping at the bit to bounce back. So I'm going to go with the over here in this one, Jimmy. Over 40, not 49. If it was over 49, I'd put the whole bankroll on it. Over 149. Georgetown Marquette over 149, minus 112 at Pinnacle.
Let's lock that in for you. Sorry. I just bet the Redhawks. I got 5.5. I know there's 6 out there at other books. But
one thing about Vermont, I'll say in that game, I don't think Vermont's nearly as good as they've been in the past. And they've had some close calls. They've had some games where they pulled it out and it was not easy for them. And they're not a team I'm fully comfortable with laying points on the road. Even with this, you know, them looking good in their last game against Toledo. Miami's very flighty, but Vermont's not a lay 5 with in the spot team for me. So I wish you luck.
Thank you, my friend. Yeah, no, your breakdown helped get me there. So I bet it. I'll have it tweeted out here in a couple minutes. Hoyas, Marquette Golden Eagles over for Bobano. What was that number again? 149.5?
149. Flat
149.
149, minus 112. Yeah.
minus 112. Bobano is locked in. That is Georgetown Marquette. Let's move to the next stop on the board here for us. And we go to
a lot of people on the chat are on Bryant. They might be safe because they've actually extended their lead here in the second half. So it's looking good for the Bryant backers.
I like hearing that. Go get it, you guys. Go get it. We move on to 8 p.m. Eastern. Yale Bulldogs 7-5, 2-3 on the road at the number 2 Kansas Jayhawks 10-1, 6-0 at home. Allen Fieldhouse in Lawrence, Kansas. Yale's been off for 11 days here in this spot. That's a long time to be off. They're sitting here as 15-point dogs at Kansas. 15-point dogs. They opened up as 15.5-point dogs, and it dropped to 15. From a total scenario here, we are sitting at a 142.5. Again, these are bet online moves. Opened up at 142, went to 142.5. And so, again, that was a half-point move to Yale and just a half-point move towards the over. So very small, very minimal market moves at this point. Why don't we take a look at the cash flow and see if that helps us. Again, this one starts at 8 p.m. and we have 93% of the tickets and 92% of the cash on the over. And we have a half-point move towards the over. Very interesting. Then we have 35% of the tickets and 39% of the cash on Kansas. Just 35 and 39. Yale is a public road dog, but there has been a half-point move towards them, and they're just slightly public. Again, I use 60% as the threshold. Everybody does it differently. So it's 65%. It's not a huge, but it is public. Yale, as I said, been off for 11 days. They were last seen a 73-66 win at Quinnipiac as 8.5-point favorites. And then Kansas comes in off their third straight win, 75-71 at Indiana on Saturday as 6.5-point favorites. Here we go. Billy Friedrich is on Kansas first half -9. Take it away for us, Bobano. Bulldogs, Jayhawks.
I think I used Yale against Gonzaga on this show earlier in the season, and they failed to cover. And I think when things got away from them, And I think because of that experience, I lean Yale here. You know my thought around Christmas time. I'm not laying double figures with these big Power 5 conference teams this time of year. I'm not doing it. I don't care what the number is. I don't care what the matchup is. To me, I don't trust these teams to have the focus for 40 minutes to get the job done like a Kansas here in this spot. So I definitely lean to Yale. But Yale looked like they got a little bit pushed around by Gonzaga. The defense started to fall apart in the second half of that game, and they ended up losing the game straight up and against the number they didn't cover. And I worry about that. I think if I were to pull the trigger on Yale, I'd feel better about maybe looking at first half with them. But when you see with Kansas here, there's definitely athletic advantages all over the floor. And we saw signs of that when Yale went up against Gonzaga earlier this year. So plus I feel like I want to be getting a few more points than this. 15 at Fog Allen doesn't feel like enough to feel comfortable. So lean Yale, but pass for me.
A lean to Yale. And yes, I remember that spot that you spoke of. That was here on the show as well.
Kansas is better than Gonzaga right now, in my opinion.
Yeah, certainly looking that way. Let's roll on. Next up for us, 8 p.m. Eastern. And let me just hearing Bobano talk about college basketball. Imagine being in a room with 50 of us at the Southtown 101 for round 1 of March Madness. I mean, I just imagine. And when I tell you how much money we made last year when we were all together, like you should expect it. There's nothing else. You're only focusing on capping for a whole weekend. You'd be as selfish as you need to be.
You look at the back part of Southtown 101 too. From when I was there a couple of years ago, it's like you're in a mini sports book there. There's all the tables, there's all the chairs there. You sit down, you do your work, or there's all the screens right there in front of you. It's like you're in a casino or a sports book. It's amazing. That's a great setup, Jeff Scott, with that. Holy shit, I couldn't believe it when I saw it.
It's so dope. Yep. All right, let's roll on. 8 p.m. Eastern. Marist Red Foxes 7-2, 4-2 on the road. At the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, 4-7, 3-3, just 3-3 at home in South Bend. Let's take a look at the line history here for this one. This is also popping off at 8 o'clock. We go into 9 p.m. action. Hopefully Saturated's here as well because we get to talk about his Fighting Illini next. Here we have Notre Dame sitting here as 5.5-point favorites. Notre Dame opened up as 3.5-point favorites. That line was available for 11 minutes. 11 minutes, and it moved to 5. It's a sharp move. That's with limits. They're trying to figure out where they stand with their lines. That's a fast move. And then it took about 7 hours after that, maybe 7.5 hours to move to 6. And then it dropped back to 5.5. So we have a 2-point move towards the Irish. Let's take a look at the total here for this one. This is very low, sitting at 126. This opened up at 123. This same thing happened. Pinnacle. Oh, am I talking Pinnacle? Shoot, I should be talking. No, Bet Online. Okay, good. Same thing happened at Bet Online. They opened it at 448 in 11 minutes. Not only did it go from 3.5 to 5.5, but it went from 123 to 124.5. The mark moving towards the over, and then this got up to 126 in the same kind of time period, 7.5 hours later, and it's back at 126. Now it is juiced minus 120 to the under. So we have a real legit move to the over, and we have a real legit move to Notre Dame. Let's see what we are dealing with from a cash flow perspective. We have 34% of the tickets and 36% of the cash on Marist. So the public is on Notre Dame and the market is moving towards them. From a total side of things, we have 58% of tickets and 85% of the cash on the over. I mean, clear, sharp action on the over. Nunya says, I love a Marist bet. And this is interesting. The psychology behind this spot is very interesting. So Marist comes off its 5th straight win, 76-52 at home over Maryland Eastern Shore on Monday as 9.5-point favorites. Notre Dame comes in off its 3rd straight loss, 65-45 at home on Tuesday versus Citadel. I mean, it was horrific. They were 8.5-point favorites. They shot 26.6% from the field and 12.5% from 3. So there's so many things going on. First, you have to think that Notre Dame is going to bounce back because they were already embarrassed. There is no fear of being embarrassed because that just happened. So you're not worried about the tiny school coming in because that we've already just seen that play out here on Tuesday night. And secondly, instead of the usual situation where Notre Dame or a well-known school would be backed by the public, I legitimately think that there's more people like Nunya who want to back Marist. They're excited about Marist. They're excited about being able to fade a huge school like Notre Dame with Marist. So I think this is a little different than our usual situation, and I respect the sharp money on Notre Dame, and I wish Notre Dame wasn't coming off being embarrassed because then I would be on the same side as the people who like Marist here, and there's no reason to not like him. And maybe this line from 3.5 to 5.5 is now in your wheelhouse. Let's hear what Bobano has to say about it. We're in South Bend against a disheveled Notre Dame Fighting Irish squad.
Believe it or not, this was going to be a pass at the opener, but I've been cashing with Marist a bunch this year. I've been fading Notre Dame a bunch this year, and now we're at the point I have to bet Marist. The number dictates it. I cannot say no anymore at 5.5. In fact, I got 6 minus 120 at Pinnacle with it, plus 6 minus 120 with Marist in this game. That's going to be an official play. They're awful, Notre Dame. I don't know if there's anything they do well right now. Their offense is not very good. They've been held below 60 in 4 of the last 6 games. Citadel, goes in there, and they were 8.5-point dogs and beats them 65-45. And I was on the Citadel in that game. Like, I have been against this team. They're in a complete rebuild mode. It's going to take some time for things to get going. The post-Mike Bray era is going to be a struggle. And more so than, their defense actually isn't horrible, but man, they just cannot shoot the basketball. They're 350 in field goal percentage, 354 in 3-point percentage, just absolutely atrocious. And even their free throw shooting used to be in the 80s. It's down in the near 70 now. So there's just a lot of issues right now with this Notre Dame team. And the one thing Marist is really good at, they're an excellent defensive team. You look at Marist, 5-0 straight up, 5-0 against the spread. They've actually covered in 6 straight games. They have a very, very good defensive team. And so where are the points going to come from here for Notre Dame? That's the big question. I think people see that the total just being 125.5 being low, but I know Marist isn't going to want to push pace. Marist is a solid defensive team. So maybe you thought that the total was just too low and we've got to bet it over, but I don't know if this matchup necessarily screams over to me. With a Notre Dame team that just cannot get stops. Bart Torvik, the website, the great website, and neither team is going to play fast either. Notre Dame and Marist are both in the 300s, so I'm a little shocked the over's gotten this much money. But when you look at it, BartTorvik.com, a great resource for college basketball, he only has Notre Dame a 0.5-point favorite in this game, and his power ratings are very on point. I respect them quite a bit. Now that you can get +6 with Maris, there's no way that's not a bet for me. So Maris +6 now, going ahead with it.
You got it locked in. By the way, UMass 14, UMass Lowell 14, Boston University. Oh, just hit a 3. UMass Lowell 17, Boston U 13. That I don't want to get into it, but it's too bad I couldn't have found a way to get on it. There you go. Maris +6 at -120 for Bobano. Billy Friedrich says, keep an eye on this Maris team next season. They only have one senior that plays major minutes on this team. Chosen One says, Bobano, do you think Maris can win outright? I'll answer that question. If he bets it on the spread at +6, then yes, he thinks they can win it. But take it away, Bobano.
What?
Do you think Maris can win outright?
Well, absolutely. The bottom line is, anyone that's watching, when I bet an underdog, I obviously think they've got at least a somewhat of a chance to win outright. Any underdog in any sport, basketball, football, plus the points, anyone that I'm taking, I think obviously there's a small chance they could win outright. Usually with every underdog, I will put some portion on the money line. And that's another thing I do, but percentage varies. Some games are 75-25 split spread to money line, some 80-20. In this case, probably something along those lines, 80-20. Some I don't feel as confident, so maybe I'll go 90-10 split percentage-wise spread to money line. But there's always some portion of any bet for me, plus the points is on the money line as well.
Let's roll on. And Mel, I did copy and paste your question. We have 3 more games here in college basketball before we touch on the college football game this evening. We move on to 9 p.m. Eastern. Saturated's number 13th ranked Illinois Fighting Illini, 8-2. Oh, let me move this over here. At Missouri Tigers, 7-4. Enterprise Center in St. Louis, Missouri. Let's take a look at the line history for this one popping off at 9 p.m. We have, oh man, I thought I added that game. I guess I didn't. I thought I added that Fresno State. Why do I have such a memory of it? But I guess I didn't. Let's go over to this 9 p.m. start here. We have Missouri right now, 6.5 point home dogs. That's where they opened yesterday at 4:48 p.m. and no movement. None, zilch. Let's see if there's been any movement on this total here. This total opened up at I don't know. It opened up at 149. It has dropped to a 148.5, but it moved to 150.5 11 minutes after it was open. So it opened at 1, and then it didn't move. It didn't start moving down until 15 hours later. So now we've had to move this morning towards the under. It's moved a half point to the under and no movement on the side. Let's take a look at the cash flow here for this one. From a cash flow standpoint, we have on the total 73% of the tickets and 99% of the cash is on the under. So clearly all morning people have been hammering the under. And then on the side, you ask why there's been no movement. 49% of the tickets are on Illinois and 48% of the cash. There's no reason for movement. Take it away for us here, Bobano, the Illini at the Tigers.
What a weird couple of teams this is. I mean, Missouri's been baffling to me. They've looked pretty solid in some games, and they looked brutal in others. I mean, that Seton Hall game the other night, what the fuck happened to them? I mean, they were just terrible. Terrible defensively, that's for sure. Now, the final score was flattering. They were down pretty big most of that game. But I'll say this about Missouri, that loss to Seton Hall looks a lot better after we just saw Seton Hall take down UConn. And they are a very well-coached team. We know Shaheen Holloway was a great hire from St. Peter's for that Seton Hall team. So maybe that win deserves a little bit more credit there for that. I should say the loss doesn't look as bad for Missouri after seeing what Seton Hall did after that. They did cover at Kansas. But every time I've trusted Missouri here, they've kind of let me down. I kind of lean to them here, 6.5, getting the points. But, I just worry about that a little bit here. And you look at the matchup here as well. One thing about Illinois, they beat Florida Atlantic. They beat Rutgers pretty handily. 2 good wins there. I thought they battled hard against Tennessee, but struggled on the defensive end of the floor, giving up 86. And that does concern me about Illinois when they've gone up against some of the better offensive teams the last couple of games. They've had their share of issues. The one thing about Missouri is they're capable of filling it up and scoring with some solid shooting as well. Their offensive numbers are pretty good, and they're very good from three-point range, 79th in the country, 36.2% from three-point range. I expect this to be a pretty good game between these two teams. They usually play each other every single year, and they usually have been betting the over every single year, and the over is cashed in 3 straight head-to-head meetings between these two teams, and that's the direction I'm going. I figure, I feel much more confident with the total here than the side. I lean to Missouri, but I've been burned by them a couple of times. I don't fully trust them anymore after the couple of losses I've had backing them. So I'm going to go with this total instead, and we can get over 149. There's actually over 148.5, minus 120 at DraftKings. We will roll with that.
Over 148.5 at minus 120. That's a bet online as well. Over 148.5 at minus 120. Interesting spot. You're right. See that second straight loss from Mizzou, 93-87 over Seton Hall looks a little better as they were 1.5 point favorites. And then, Illinois coming off beating Colgate at home, 74-57 on Sunday, 16.5 point favorites. It does sort of set up for Missouri to kind of be in this basketball game. I guess I'm not going to. I've been not making decisions on a 50-50 spot on the team that I like or anything like that. That's why my record is succeeding. I've been using the experts and then combining it with the market analysis. And so I'm not going to do that. But looking at this, I do kind of like Missouri at home, but then I could be overvaluing what Seton Hall looked like.
This is the home of the Blues, Enterprise Center, St. Louis. So It's not a true home game for Missouri. And so it doesn't fall in. And I know there's people that are going to say, well, it falls into that unranked or the ranked team favored on the road against the unranked team. Well, that's true home game environments. That's not necessarily neutral court environments. Although Missouri has had experience playing in this building, as Bankroll Spence says.
I guess I'll just leave a lean. At this point, I lean to Mizzou, and I'll look a little more here.
Yeah, that is my lean, but when you're snake bit with one team, at least sidewise, you feel a little gun shy. But I like this total. I think it gets into the 150s. These teams have had no problem scoring against each other in the recent meetings head to head.
Move on to the next spot on the board here. We head to Pauley Pavilion in Los Angeles, California. Half-filled Pauley Pavilion these days. Nobody seems to care or want to watch these UCLA Bruins at home against the Terps. Maryland Terrapins 7-4, 0-2 on the road, and the Bruins are 4-1 at home. Let's take a look at the line history for this one. This one again pops off at 9 p.m. Eastern. From a side perspective, we are sitting here with UCLA -4. UCLA -4. They opened up -3, got up to 3.5, dropped back to 3. Now 3.5 and 4. The move to 4 happened 30 minutes ago. From a total perspective, we're dealing with a 130. This opened up at 127. Climbed all the way up. The first time it got up to 130.5, it came back to 130. Now back at 130.5. So we have a 3.5 point move to the over, and we have a 1 point move to the Bruins. Now, 79% of the tickets are on the Bruins, and now 80% of the tickets are on the Bruins, and just 53% of the cash. So bigger bets have come in on the Terps. And then from a total perspective, 49% of the tickets and 57% of cash are on the over. That's not a lot of tickets in cash for it to move as briskly as it has. Top Shelf Plays says Maryland money line. Nunya says Maryland +3.5 and the money line. Let's hear what Bobano has to say about this one. Maryland comes in off its third straight win, 73-67 at home over Nicholls State on Tuesday. Is 19.5 point favorites. Jarek White is on the over 129. UCLA comes in off its third straight loss on Tuesday, 76-72 to Cal State Northridge, a 17.5 point dog. So Cal State Northridge beating them for the first time in 11 years. And it makes me think that I'm interested in the bounce back performance, but maybe this team isn't capable of it. And the fact that there's 80% of the tickets on them and only 53% of the cash does not really correlate for me. Take it away, Bobano. Maryland, UCLA.
I'm not buying a bounce back spot either. I like the Maryland side here in this game. I just think it's a much better basketball team, catching points, getting 4 in this game. I'm comfortable with taking the Terps here in this game. It is a long travel out there to Pauley, East Coast to West Coast, but actually 4.5 -115 at FanDuel for Maryland. So we'll lock that in. Maryland +4.5 -115 at FanDuel. I like what I'm seeing out of the Maryland side. Kevin Willard, he knows what it takes to coach a team and get them better. He did a good job at Seton Hall most of those years, got him to the tournament as well. This is 4 straight losses here for this UCLA team. So they're not playing well at all. And when you look at this team, I really like what I'm seeing. I like what Jameer Young is bringing to the table. They've got a big guy that can offset a Dembona for UCLA with Julian Reeves. I mean, I really think matchup-wise, Maryland can lock up UCLA in a bunch of different areas here in this game. And UCLA is a capable defensive team, but, man, they have had issues getting consistent offense outside of that young freshman, Sebastian Mack, who's played well. The one thing Cronin did this year, because he knew he lost a lot from last year's team and 2 years ago, remember when he had Jaime Jaquez and all these really good players there the last few years, Tiger Campbell and all these guys that departed, he went to the international scene to bring in these players overseas from international places to try to fill the void, and they're having a tough time acclimating themselves to the college basketball scene. They've struggled, a lot of these players, and these are players he was counting on to really produce for him, and it just hasn't panned out here for Mick Cronin so far. I just think Maryland's a better basketball team right now. And yeah, you're saying motivation, bounce back spot for UCLA. Well, you could have said that a few games ago, and they lost each and every one of those. Those were supposed to be bounce back spots too, and they didn't get the job done. And for Maryland, I think they look at this as, yeah, it's a down UCLA team, but it's a chance to go on the road, get a quality road win. That matters for resumes come March when you're trying to make the NCAA tournament. These road games are very important to put a result on the board. And I just think right now Maryland's the better of these two teams, and I got 4.5 points in my back pocket. I'll take it. Maryland plus 4.5 for me.
Well, that's what I needed to hear. I won't move on UCLA after that loss to CSUN. Let's move on to the final spot on the college basketball card before we talk about the Friday night Gasparilla Bowl. 10 p.m. Eastern, we have the number 16th ranked Colorado State Rams, 10-1. 1-0 on the road at Loyola Marymount Lions, 7-5, 5-1 home. We're back in Los Angeles, California, where I wish I lived. We have Loyola right now plus 4.5. They opened up as plus 5.5 and dropped to 4.5 immediately, 11 minutes later. Then back to 5.5, 20 minutes after that. So, very interesting. But then down to 5 and now 4.5. And looking around at the marketplace, BetOnline's the only book with them at 4.5. So Pinnacle, let's just see. Maybe this didn't refresh. Pinnacle opened this at 4.5 yesterday at 5:13 p.m. Moved it to 5, where it's just been stagnant. Interesting. Let's get to the total here for this one. From a total perspective, we are sitting here with a 149.5. This opened up at 147, and the first move was to the under to 146 before this climb to the over. So we have a 2.5 point move to the over, and we have, sorry, I want to go back to BetOnline. We have a 1 point move towards Loyola at BetOnline. So, cash wise here, sorry, move over to this last game at 10. We have on the total 33% of the tickets and 67% of cash on the under, but the public has moved it to the over. Then you have 30% of the tickets and 54% of the cash on Loyola Marymount. So Loyola Marymount has found its way into what correlates for me here. And they're coming off their second win in 3 games. That's the problem. They look very good. A 20-point win over a weak Detroit Mercy squad on Monday as 16.5-point favorites, but they're feeling good about themselves. Colorado State comes in off an easy 86-54 home win over Div 2 CSU Pueblo on Sunday. Take it away for us here, Bobano. Rams, Lions, our final game on the college basketball card.
I love this Colorado State team this year. I mean, I love Nico Medved. They're incredibly good offensively. They move the ball. They share the ball. They take good shots. They are just an excellent, fluid, sound, efficient offensive team. They've been that way all year. They've been scoring 80s and 90s in pretty much every game, except for St. Mary's. They had that bad game, but when St. Mary's is on, and I know they've had their ups and downs, they can be tough to score on. I know they're at home here, Loyola Marymount, and they are 5-1 straight up at home, 4-1 against the spread. This is a pretty good home floor for them. But my goodness, to me, there's still a class difference between these teams. I think just Colorado State's still a decent amount better than this Loyola Marymount team. And let's not forget what Colorado State's done. We know they've been pretty good over the last couple of years at home, but let's look at what they've done on either a road or a neutral court. They beat Creighton this year by 19. They beat Washington, a really good team, 86-81. So they have two awesome wins away from home, Colorado State against Creighton and Washington. I think they can handle Loyola Marymount. With all due respect to the Lions, they're a capable team. I think they're going to struggle to contain this team offensively. If you look at Loyola here coming into this matchup, the one thing that would bother me here going into this game is their inability in terms of the defensive side as far as 2-point makes, and even their 3-point defense. It's going to be put to the test here by Colorado State. I'm not sure they've seen an offense this dynamic, because you look at these teams they've played, UTEP and FIU and Central Arkansas. UCSB is a bit of a slow-paced team. Detroit Mercy's not a very good team this year. I don't know if there's anything they've seen yet that's at the quality offensively of Colorado State, and I think that's going to be trouble. So I agree with the over move, because I'm on the total as well. I like the over 148, minus 110 at Bet Rivers. I agree with that move. I disagree with the move toward Loyola Marymount. I just think Colorado State's been undervalued all year. The point spread record would indicate that. 10-1 straight up, 8-3 against the spread. I'll take the Rams here as a short road favorite, minus 4.5, minus 112 at DraftKings.
Minus 4.5 at minus 112 for Colorado State. And that was the over 148 at minus 110?
That's right. Yep.
Locked in. Well, I guess that will take me off of Loyola at this point. Don't you find? Do you think in this matchup though or do I have this read wrong? Do you think in this matchup Colorado State still is the sexier look? It's a more popular look. There's not a lot of people rushing to bet Loyola Marymount.
I'm sure that's the case. I just don't know if Loyola Marymount has seen an offense like this on their schedule very often this year. I don't think they have. Colorado State, you could argue, has played, honestly, every bit as well on the road as they have at home. I mean, what they've done away from home is absolutely exemplary. Creighton and Washington, they could be NCAA tournament teams this year. Creighton will be. Washington should be. And they went there and beat them. So unless this is one of those flat spots, unless this is one of those nights where, and I haven't seen it yet, other than the St. Mary's game at home, where Colorado State just isn't making shots and their offense isn't clicking, and that's been a rarity this year. I don't know if Loyola Marymount's got it in them to stay this close, I mean.
And the Creighton, Boston College, and Washington victories were neutral court, but were they not true neutral courts? Was the Washington game in Seattle or something like that? Where was that game? That was at MGM. No,
it was in Vegas. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Because the one true road game, they dominated Northern Colorado 83-64.
Yep.
Okay. Interesting. Well, I'll leave. So at this point, I'll leave those just with question marks all over the Loyola spot. City Life Project joining the show, saying what up to you. Ian saying great to see you. And then we have Brian Watson wishing everybody a Merry Christmas. Let's review all action here. And this isn't like last Friday where I kind of like when you hammer these small markets. I find so many things open up for me. And we have bigger games here. We have Bobano on this.
Once we get into January, it's nothing but pretty much small conferences on Fridays. So get ready for that next month. Yep.
I love it. That look on UMass Lowell first half, they're up 10 right now. Should have been there. Should have been on it. The live total is at 139.5. We have Bobano on the over 137.5 and Joe T on the over 138.5. James Madison minus 20 starts in 26 minutes for Bobano. I am on the Miami of Ohio Redhawks, plus 5.5. That starts in 25 minutes. Bobano's on Tulane minus 3.5 and the over 156.5. He's on the over 149 at minus 112 and Georgetown Marquette. Stayed off Yale, Kansas, but he's on Marist plus 6 at minus 120. He's on the over 148.5 at minus 120. And I lean towards Mizzou here. That's just going to stay a lean, at least for the next couple hours. Then Bobano's on Maryland plus 4.5 at minus 115. And Bobano's on Colorado State minus 4.5 in the over 148. And at this point, I do not have the conviction to go up against that. So I guess Loyola Marymount at this point will probably be off of my card. That is college basketball. We're going to talk about the big Friday night bowl game tonight before we get into NBA with LJ from HTown. So we have one more game here on the docket, and let's set this up. So that is all of our coverage there. So we'll move this off. I didn't get Jose to set this up for us, but we talked about this game yesterday, and I bet it. I wish I came with you guys on the South Florida Bulls, but I did bet this look after Ragu's breakdown. And the idea was this, and I'll let you hammer this. You heard from us on this game yesterday, but you have these two excellent offenses and two very weak defenses. And then you have these two incredible rushing attacks against two defenses that can't stop the run. Terrible rush defenses. So, 5 of Georgia Tech's last 6 games went to the over. We talked about all this yesterday. And then we talked about my major point of emphasis, which I was interested in using as part of the cap, was that this is John Reese Plumlee's possible last football game of his life. Unless he wants to try in the CFL, I don't know if so. That there's a concern, not a concern from a betting standpoint, a real nice opportunity to back somebody who's going to leave it all out on the field here. He could make a practice squad in the NFL maybe. So this is a big game for John Reese Plumlee and the quarterback of UCF. So let's go into the line history. Another thing we talked about in the line history, Ragu gave us the over, and was that the idea we had was that wait, because we saw it moving towards the under after a huge move to the over. Huge move. And we'll go over it again. But we thought that bet it at some point last night, which is what I did. I bet it pretty late last night. And then the public was going to come in and start hammering the over all day, and the total would go up. So let's start with the spread here for this one this evening. We're sitting here. We're going to use Pinnacle again. We're sitting here at a 5.5 for UCF. They opened up at 4.5, got up to 5.5. There's 6 in other books. Let's get to the total here. This total is sitting now at 67. I got 66.5 last night. This 67 moved to 67 this morning at 8:12, and it's slightly juiced to the under at 67. And then when we go over to the cash flow for our standalone Friday night bowl game, we have 48% of tickets, 51% of cash on UCF. But from a total side of things, 84 and 83 on the over. And again, this over has come up from 62, all the way from 62. JPZ seeing 67.5, so I like to see that. Take it away for us here. And Joe T says, Merry Christmas. All I got to do some stuff out of the house. Still be listening, but won't be able to chat too much. Joe T, thank you for all of your insights and angles, and can't wait to play poker with you a week from today. Our big poker game Friday night, 8 p.m. Eastern in 7 days. Take it away for us, Bobano. Here we go. It is the Gasparilla Bowl. Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, UCF Knights, Raymond James Stadium. Beautiful weather, 66 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 9 miles per hour. Take it away.
Yeah, I mean, I got the over at a great number, like probably a week and a half ago, and it was still only 64 at that time, and it's gone up since. And I didn't even get the best number, but I got 64. It's gone up to like 67 and a half. So what I'll do is at Pinnacle, we'll use alternative spread, and we'll go over 66 minus 122 at Pinnacle. So that's what we'll take. We'll get 66 because 35-31 is a common score, and if it lands on that, it's a push. So I like having the 66 there at the minus 122. But I do expect both offenses to play pretty well. Georgia Tech's strength all year was Haynes King in the offense. It certainly wasn't the defense. We saw them get shredded both via the air and on the ground throughout the course of the season, and especially their run defense concerning when you're going up against a run-heavy Gus Malzahn spread offense led by, of course, John Rice Plumlee here and likely his last college game. So I think UCF's going to be able to do what they want offensively. But I think this Georgia Tech team with their balance running and throwing the ball could really trouble UCF. UCF was not a great, consistent defensive team either. UCF plays with some tempo, not blazing fast, but they do play above average in terms of tempo. Georgia Tech is a big play offense. A lot of times this year when Georgia Tech scored, they've scored big plays in bunches. Look at the game they beat Miami where they had the big touchdown pass to win the game there. They're a big play offense. They're a quick strike offense. So I think you're going to get big plays and points both sides here. So over the total for me here in this Gasparilla Bowl.
That's perfect. Rolls along with what the breakdown was yesterday. I bet it. Bobano getting the Gasparilla Bowl over 66 at minus 122 here. Alternate line over at Pinnacle. Here we go. Justin McKelvey says, I got the 67 this morning. Probably going to add the first half after the show. I thought about adding the first half, but I'm just going to kept it clean with the full game. But I get why the double up is in order. Nunya gifting a Pub Sports Radio membership. Anthony Velez getting it. I love that. Thank you, Nunya, my friend. That means a ton to us. Nunya business in the house. Respect. Great job, Bobano. Thank you for rolling with us. You can catch Bobano breaking down NHL and college basketball every Friday right here on Pub Sports Radio. I love the combo of Bobano and LJ on Fridays. I love the show. Bobano, thank you for all of your hard work. We did have a question posed by Mel. Oh, and by the way, Big Ragu, after sweeping the board yesterday on our show, says played 2 units on UCF -5. UCF -5 from our Big Ragu. We have a final question here from Mel. She says, before you lose Bobano, please ask him this. Right now, is Nathan McKinnon, Al McKinnon, is Nathan McKinnon the best player in the world right now?
No, he's up there, but he's not the best. Yeah.
There you go, Mel. There you go. Probably not what you wanted to hear, Mel.
Yeah.
Probably not what you want to hear. Bobano, you're the man. Please follow Bobano on X at Bobano. Follow him with the Ice Guys. Follow him on Hitting the Books. All of the bowl games are up right now on our homepage, our YouTube homepage. Please check it out. And if you want to see Bobano freestyle and deliver the goods or drop any lyrics from any of the hip-hop songs of our youth, got to come to San Antonio for that. Bobano, you're the man. Any last words for the Capper Sport in the show?
No, just have a great weekend and Merry Christmas to everybody, the entire Pub Sports Radio fam. Merry Christmas. Enjoy the holiday weekend with family, with friends, and with a few winning tickets, hopefully, as well, across all sports. Jimmy, you too. Merry Christmas to you, the fam, the kids, everyone, all the fam. Much love to them and Merry Christmas.
Oh, you're a good man. Thank you so much, Bobano. There he is, our guy, Mr. Ian Cameron, on the show. We go from Hamilton, Ontario, up north, and we head down very close to where we will all be partying together at the Southtown 101. We head to Houston, Texas for our next guest. Our next guest is the star of the Trill OG Play of the Day and a huge part of what we do here on Pub Sports Radio. You can catch him on our live streams, catch him on our All About the Hoops Wednesday basketball live stream, and you can catch him here every Friday breaking down the NBA card. Please welcome our guy, LJ from HTown.
Pub Sports Radio's the crew, that's a fact. We all about bread, making bank accounts fat. Who the hell is that? LJ from the H, I stack green like Boston. Shout out to Nasty Nate from down south, where we ride on slab. 420 highway smoking with that boy Dabby Cab. Swing by Dallas with them Cowboy fans so we can smoke out J Money, cause you know that's our mans. Us against the bookies, put money in our pockets. Fly out to Vegas, meet up with Ski Profit. Hit the sports books, we got money to stack. Can't forget them college picks with that boy Connor Mack.
LJ, my man, welcome to the show. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing good, Jimmy, as far as, living life, blessed to be alive, but I'm not doing too good on your show right now. I mentioned it the other day to you, it kind of bothers me, so I want to get better. I know these people in the chat and everybody's watching expect us to be good at what we do, so I'm going to get to work, Jimmy. I promise the record's going to get better throughout this year, so I'm ready to get started. Let's see if we can get some action.
We believe in you enormously, and it's very early. And this is just, it's part of the game, handling the ebbs and the flows and the roller coaster ride that comes with it. You're used to a lot of glory, and you were excellent last year. And these are just some bumps along the road, and we truly, truly believe in you. And the accountability and the honesty of our show with our record keeping is not seen in other shows. And the reason why it's because you're not always going to be winning, because we're honestly portraying what it's like to be a gambler, and it's not all glory. And so we believe in you enormously, and watching cappers climb out of holes like this is something that we love so much. And we know that you can do it here. Everybody in the chat talking about how much they love capping with you. We believe in you enormously. Let's get to work here. While I'm setting up our NBA here, how did yesterday go for you?
It went pretty good. I took Lakers first quarter. Lakers. I took Minnesota over the Lakers first quarter yesterday. I took the Bucks. They didn't hit that first half, but I did pretty good for us. I kept the unit size low because I know on Fridays I love to attack the card real good. So, but it was decent, not too bad.
And we got a 6-game card here for us. Yesterday, I thought was very difficult. Again, I feel like I'm leaving money on the table, but I made one bet, Washington Wizards, and even though it was a tiny bit of a sweat late,
Good.
it was for what I just feel like these spots are slam dunk spots, but there's not many of them. And for me, what made it a slam dunk spot, and we talk about this all the time here, were two things. One, you had Portland on the final game of a homestand. They've got shit they got to worry about. They're heading on the road. They're just being home for 6 games. And in that 5th game of the 6-game homestand, it might have been the 4th of 5. It might have been the 4th of 5, but I have the 4th, 5, 5, 6. That's my sweet spot. They beat the Suns outright. Feeling good about themselves. Have to leave the city at the end of the game. And then you have the Wizards with an extra day of rest here, about to finish up their trip. I really felt like situationally, and then you saw right up top, it was 9-0 Wizards immediately.
Yep.
When you put lipstick on a pig, you don't want to bet the pig first quarter, first half, and full game, even though it probably was the right spot to do it. But let's get to work here right now, and we start. Let me get this. So we don't have Jose. It's just Aswa. If I mess up with the graphics, let me know. Here we go. We get started with my Toronto Raptors. My Toronto Raptors at the Philadelphia 76ers here. Raptors 11-16, 3-8 on the road. Things are falling apart quickly. Sixers are 19-8, 11-4 at home. Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Masai is sticking to this 3 first-rounders for OG Anunoby. And you know what that means, Masai? That means that OG Anunoby will be a Toronto Raptor. I think you've added one too many first-round picks. He wants Keegan Murray and 3 first-rounders. Now, the idea for Masai is if he waits until the deadline, he'll get it. Yeah. And maybe he's right. And we love Masai up here. We believe in him implicitly. There's been many times over the last few years that we call him our favorite Canadian, or I call him my favorite Canadian. But this is a pretty big risk he's taking, because what will happen is you'll have a upset Anunoby, knowing he's on the trade block, and wondering what team is going to go to. And next thing you know, the Raptors are 15 games under 500, and then maybe he gets first-round picks. But I get that if it's from a team that is a good team, he doesn't want, the 27th overall pick, 3 years in a row. So it is a tricky situation for Masai. With the Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where the Sixers are 11-4. Toronto 2-3 over their past 5, playing the pace of 98.7 possessions a game, while Philadelphia 4-1 over that period, playing the pace of 100.30 possessions a game. Going into the injury issues here, none for the Raptors. These Raptors are running nice, but a lot of game time decisions for the Sixers, not really key spots. Bamba, Covington, Beverly, and Melton are game time decisions, and Batum is out. We have the Raptors and the Sixers. We last saw each team on Wednesday. Raptors lost to Denver 113-104, and it was a poor bet on my part, thinking that the line was fishy and that the Raptors would be able to hang. They weren't in all, not from the tip off. They made a couple runs in the second half, but nothing too tight. They've lost 2 of 3 and 3 of 5. They just finished up a 4-game homestand and now head out on the road to Philadelphia. These Sixers bounced back from that home loss to Chicago by beating Minnesota. We were all over that. Everybody in the chat, everybody on screen, everybody wanted the Sixers in that spot. Minnesota on the first of a back-to-back, playing the Lakers in the second. So here we go. Let's take a look at the line history and then hand it over to our guy. From a line history standpoint here, the Raptors are 8.5-point dogs. 8.5-point dogs. It is juiced to the Raptors. They opened up at 8. It got up to 8.5 and then to 9. Then dropped back to 8.5. That's a lot of points, man. From a total point, we're sitting here at 230.5. This opened up at 229 and got up to 230.5. Then when we get to the cash flow here for this one, Get to all markets. We have 19% of the tickets and 27% of the cash on the Raptors. Then from a total, we have 80% of tickets and just 61% of cash on the over. It's climbed a little bit, but there are some bigger bets coming in on the under. North Ender says Raps were down 5 with a couple minutes to go. Yeah, they made a couple runs late. You're right. A legit one. Troy Torrance says Zach LaVine to the Raptors. No, there's no way Miss would do that. There's no chance. There's no way Miss I would do that. He values those draft picks. See, look what he's done with these late draft picks. I mean, we've done.
Yeah.
Look at the Fred VanVleet undrafted. You go through. Look at Siakam. Look at these guys. So we don't want an old guy with weak knees whose team is much better when he's watching.
Yeah,
I hope.
exactly.
And I trust Masai in that regard. Take it away for us here, LJ. The first game of a 6-game NBA slate, Raptors Sixers.
Yeah, Jimmy, you know how I feel about home favorites at home on Fridays. And as long as the 76ers have Embiid and Tyrese Maxey in that lineup, I guarantee that they are a bet-on team. Now, as far as the Raptors, you just mentioned they've been doing horribly as of late, especially first quarter, first half. 1-6 against the spread in both first quarter and first half. Not to mention they're 0-7 versus this division. Now, they're ranked 27th in first quarter point margin, -7 in their last 3 games. So that's where we're going to attack this game early. Sixers, first quarter, simply because they're 5-3 against the spread in the first quarter this month of December. And they have a +6 first quarter point margin in their last 3 games, top 5 overall in the league. So find me the number, 76ers first quarter. That's how I'm going to attack this game. Now, the full game, I don't want to take that 8.5. It may be like a blowout in the third quarter, and Embiid and Maxey comes out of the fourth. They don't play, and Toronto could probably squeeze back and cover that line because Philly knows they will have the win. So I'm just going to attack the game early, considering I think that scenario will happen. But, Philly, number 1 in offensive efficiency. Toronto's middle of the pack, around 20. So I just think it's too much offense for the 76ers. I don't think the Raptors can play enough defense to maintain them. Embiid has been holding it down. We already know, averaging a 60 PRA his last 3 games. So I'm going to take his points over 36.5. If you can find me a good number on that one, he's added 6 out of his last 8 games. So Embiid's points, 76ers first quarter is how I'm attacking this first game.
Embiid over 36.5 points?
Yes, I believe it's at that. If somebody can find a better one.
I will line shop here.
Okay.
When we look at the Raptors on the road this year, when they play better basketball teams, they step up. Now, it's not a clear situation for them, but we've seen it happen. And we saw them, play the Knicks tough, 136-130 in their last road games, 4 straight home games. And then you have the Sixers with back-to-back home games, a day rest, and then they're off until Christmas. It is a pretty nice situation for them here.
Yep. 10-3 against the spread as a home favorite.
I'd love to find a way to get on the Raptors at this number, but I don't know if I can. Let's get this first quarter. We've Billy found a nice price for you on the first quarter, and the same here over at Pinnacle, -3 at -102. So that's better than Billy's. He's got -3 at -108, which does make us wonder what the 2.5 is. This is nice. -2.5 is just -114. Would you prefer that?
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
Okay, so first quarter -2.5 at -114. Then we'll go into the player prop market for Joel Embiid, and 35.5 points, and it's just -101 to the over.
Let's get it.
All right, so over 35.5 and just -101 to the over. Saturated fading Siakam today, and Saturated saying he's not scared of Embiid's over 52.5 points, rebounds, and assists. Fixes in says, I feel the books now no Toronto won't. I think he's saying step up with this number. I think you're right. The Fixes in. I think you're right. I think we'd see a 7.5. I think you probably nailed it. I think you probably.
Toronto's too overmatched in this game, I believe.
All right, so here we go. Sixers first quarter -2.5, -114. Embiid over 35.5 points. in Raptors, Sixers, and I guess we just move on. But top shelf plays looking at the Raptors. Okay, we're gonna move on. Next up for us, we head to Brooklyn. Denver Nuggets 19-10, 8-8 on the road to the Brooklyn Nets. 13-14, 8-6 at home. We're at Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York. Caddy saying Embiid on boards. He usually steps down against bigger teams, but feel like he'll eat in this one. I mean, he doesn't have. I mean, it's just Pirtle that he has to worry about. Let's take a look at this situation here. Nuggets, Nets. We have, of course, Simmons and Walker out for Brooklyn. That's been the situation for a long time. Aaron Gordon is a game-time decision. That is the only issue here for these Nuggets. Nuggets are 4-1 over the past 5, playing at 26th fastest pace in the league, 97.3 possessions a game. Brooklyn 1-4, playing at 99.1 possessions a game. That's 18th in the NBA. Let's get into the line history here. Move back to full game. We have Brooklyn here as 4.5 point favorites. 4.5 point favorites and minus 108. This opened up at plus 4.5 minus 105. And it's right back where it started, plus 4.5 and minus 108. Let's get into the total here for this one. This total is sitting at, get back to Penny. It's sitting at 230.5. Opened up at 230.5, got up to 232.5. And it's dropped to 230.5. So we've had a 4-cent move to the under. So we've really had no movement on side or total in this basketball game. 31% of the tickets and 60% of the cash is on the Brooklyn Nets. And that's why we know that Dan Kelly's been talking about the Brooklyn Nets as, against the spread monsters.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have 33% of the tickets and 52% of the cash on the under. So, you have the public on the over and the public on the Nuggets. This is a fishy line, and we talked about. I talked about the line fishiness in the Raptors game, and the Nuggets were in control. I know we've talked about Raptors making a couple of moves. This is another fishy line. Take it away for us, LJ. Nuggets, Nets.
Yes, I agree it is. And I feel the Denver, the team that they are, should be way more favorites than a minus 4.5 versus the Brooklyn Nets. So I agree with you. And not to mention, Brooklyn is 9-3 against the spread in the last 12 games at home. So they could cover this spread. Now, I'm going to attack the game early simply because of the Nuggets 4-1 against the spread in the first quarter on the road their last 5 games. That's where they've been playing their good ball, and they're number 2 in the NBA in first quarter point margin overall. So same way we're going to attack the Sixers, the same way we're going to do Denver. First quarter, Jimmy, you can find me the number. They're 5-3 against the spread versus the East. The Nets 3-4 against the spread versus the West. Now, the reason why I'm attacking the first quarter is because the Knicks are a -6 first quarter their last 3 games. Now, they start off slow. Denver starts off good because I think Jokic pretty much plays that whole first quarter. So I believe Denver gets up on them early. They digress towards the end of the game. I think Brooklyn will come back in the second half and make it a game and possibly win the game. I believe they will be at the end of the game the last couple of possessions. So the ball could fall either way. A -4.5 is a little bit too low for me. Considering how Denver is, I believe it should be like a 6 maybe, so let's just attack the first quarter the way Denver's been playing good and just leave the rest of the game alone.
-1 and -110. The fix is in, and Dan both talking about that last loss. Now they've lost 4 straight, but the last loss, they lose the final 3 games of that 5-game trip. They open with the loss against Sacramento, beat Phoenix in Phoenix, then lose at Denver by 23. So they've lost to Denver 8 days ago by 23 in Denver.
Revenge spot. Yep.
Then they lose at Golden State by 4, and then they lose poorly on the end of the road trip at Utah. Come back. That's a tough travel situation versus New York. But this is game 1 of a back-to-back. And what I don't want to have happen here. Look, I get this is Brook. Oh, by the way, I got you a -1 at -113.
Okay.
First quarter. And it's interesting. The money line's -140, and the -one's -113. The issue for me is what I don't want to have happen is, and I am saying this is a Brooklyn or no bet full game, but I don't want to be sitting there, in the late third or early fourth quarter and know that the players I need to play 40 minutes are on a minutes limit because they're playing in Detroit the following night. And it is a home back-to-back.
Okay.
That does help a little more.
Yeah.
Curious to see Dan jump back in the chat because he says the game after losing to the Knicks makes the Nets dangerous tonight. The fix is in saying they played no defense in that Knicks game. Still, that back-to-back hurts. It hurts, and I'm gonna leave it as just a question mark for me here with the Nets. I'm not sure if I can get there, but that's the only way I'd be looking. A North Ender agreeing with Dan Kelly as he's Money in the Bank, Danny. Okay, let's move on. Next spot for us here is 8 p.m. Eastern. We have the Atlanta Hawks 12-15, 8-8 on the road at the Miami Heat 16-12, 7-6 at home at the Kaseya Center in Miami, Florida. Let's get into the line history here for this one. We have Miami sitting here right now at Pinnacle +1 at -110. They opened up as -1. They got up to -2 this morning before there was the flip, which means we need to look at the money line to get a better idea of what the hell is going on. Let's grab the money line here for this one. From that perspective, we have Miami at -105. They opened up at -112. At 7 in the morning, they were -129. Now they're all the way down to -105. And I know we're going to look at the total here in a second, but was there any thought that Butler would play? Because he's been listed as out. I don't think there was any. I think this is all cash. This Atlanta Hawks team is just as Jekyll and Hyde as you could possibly imagine. In that last spot here for Atlanta, we had cappers in the chat saying, just kind of warning people about backing Houston because it was such a fishy number. How could Houston 11-1 at home be -3 point favorites in that game? Now, I stayed off Houston. I didn't have the balls to be on the other side, but Atlanta has now won 3 of 4. But nobody really cared about wins at Toronto, even though that 125-104 was clinical. But then they beat Detroit barely 130-124 at home, get on the road and beat Houston in nice fashion. Both teams played on Wednesday, and the Heat played excellent, 115-1. The Heat do seem vulnerable, but it certainly feels like a buy high spot on Atlanta, and I can't trust this basketball team. From a total perspective, we open up at 237.5, and we were up at 238.5. We had a 1-point move to the over. Jarek White liking Miami here. And Saturated liking the double-double. Sammy Comer saying Heat just beat Magic outright. Now they're only 1.5 point favorites at home versus the Hawks. Ian Chambers says Heat at home, Christmas game, Heat or pass. And Dan Kelly saying also the second game back after a road trip helps Brooklyn. And Saturated said, I said it last time, I'll say it again, trade double-double on the road is free money. Okay, so with sitting here for a little longer, I'm starting to find the Nets more appealing. I don't know exactly what to do in this game. Miami playing the second slowest pace over the last 5 games in the league, 3-2, 96.20 possessions a game, while Atlanta 3-2 playing the pace of 100.20 possessions a game. And then when we get into the money here for this one, we have 29% of the tickets and 32% of the cash on the Hawks. 29 and 32, and they've gone from dog to favorite. Wow. 62 and 64 on the over. Take it away for us here, LJ. Hawks Heat.
Yeah, Jimmy. I don't have a play for as a side on this game. I wouldn't lean Heat just because they're the home team and they're 6-0 versus the division. But I just saw Atlanta come into the Toyota Center and drop a 60% 3-point percentage in the first half on us. So if Atlanta gets hot, they get hot. They got some shooters out there that can spot up and just shoot pretty much anywhere on the court. So like you just said, they're Jekyll and Hyde, though. You never know what to expect, what kind of game they're going to have. So this is a divisional game. So the Hawks are alive, playing this. It's interesting why they flipped to a favorite, but I wasn't interested in taking a side. They're 7-20 against the spread overall, so I don't trust them for as that factor. But Miami, they're 3-3 against the division, against the spread versus the division. So they're pretty much even keel. So I couldn't find a definitive advantage in this game. I don't know if Butler's going to play, but Tyler Hero is back. And he's hit 25 plus his last 2 games. And the fact that he's hit 22 plus straight in 8 straight games, I'm going to jump on the over 23.5 points I got it at minus 130. Now, if anybody can find me a better number, I would love it. Because like y'all know, I only can do one book down here in Texas. So, but I got 130. I'm on the points just because I believe that's where the offense is going to come. He shoots the ball lights out. He's at home. So yeah, let's just stick to Tyler Hero's points. I didn't, like I said, I didn't find an advantage in the game. So I just passed on the side. But I am on Tyler Hero's points, 23 and a half points.
Let me see what I can get you here for Tyler Hero's points. Tyler Hero's points, 24 and a half at minus 129.
So it went up a number, huh? Yeah, I don't want it. It went up.
Well, let me just check a different book here because that's
okay.
Not
I see why though. The Hawks allow the second most points to the shooting guard, so the books know that. You know, we got to be smarter than the books because if we know the stat, they know the stat too. So that's why that number is like that.
Well, let me get over here quickly and see if I can beat that number. This is because North Ender making some really, really salient points here, and I'll go over them in a second. Definite food for thought, North Ender. I'm starting to get there. So we have Tyler Hero at 24 and a half here at minus 130.
Yeah, that's what I have. So
okay.
I don't want it though because I have it capped at 23 and a half, and they pushed the number up. So I don't want to take it. I just have bad experience in chasing numbers. I lose when it comes to that. So let's just stay off since they pushed the number up.
And BJ is saying, Hawks play Memphis tomorrow. So it's this. I find this. So North Ender talking about the similarities here. Oh, the over. It's minus 127 at Bookmaker. 3 cents
Still
better.
24 though. Yeah. I don't want it because it's at 24.
Yeah. No, I feel you. It's 24 and a half at minus 110 at Bovada, but I feel you. So now they get to go home and play Memphis, but that's not easy. Here in this divisional matchup, so North Ender is saying, talking about the similarities of the Atlanta Hawks here as Washington, which was my only bet last night. And looking back at what are the similarities North Ender is talking about, you have the Heat coming off a really impressive victory against the Magic, where they looked very good doing it. You had Portland coming off that very impressive victory against Phoenix. Then when we're looking at, it was the last game of a homestand, which is a spot that I like to fade for Miami here. I imagine that, let's just get to their situation here. Sorry, for Miami, we have them, off till Christmas. It's a pretty nice spot for them. They play Philly, of course, at home on Christmas. The market is clearly indicating that Atlanta is the side.
Especially how they played last game.
But that's the problem. Like, do you really want to back them after they played so well? So they shot 60%. They put up from 3 in the first half. They put up 134 points, 51.6% from the field, 12.5%, from 3. I think that's all manageable. I mean, the fact that this got down to 2.5 was nuts against the Houston Rockets team that's 11-1 at home, against the Hawks team that was 7-8 on the road at the time. Mikey Money looking at the Trae Young over 27.5 points tonight. No, BJ, Miami's minus 1. No, Miami's the dog now. Miami's, depending on where you shop, the sharpest book in the world has flipped them to a dog. Coin saying regression coming up on Atlanta. Can you call it regression when a team's 12-15? I think I think that the Atlanta's got to be moved on. I'm much more comfortable with Brooklyn at this point. I guess I'm going to need to sit with this Atlanta spot a little more. Okay, so we're not moving on Hero for LJ. We got 3 games left on the card. Let's move on to the next one. Next up for us, 8 p.m. Eastern, Dallas Mavericks 16-11, 9-5 on the road at the Houston Rockets. LJ's Houston Rockets 13-12, but 11-2 at home. We're at Toyota Center in Houston, Texas. Both teams are 2-3 over their last 5, playing at a very similar pace. 98.6 possessions a game for Dallas, 98.25 for Houston. Mikey Money looking at Trae Young, 35-plus minutes and 30-plus points in 5 straight now. Let's go into the line history here and the cash and the situation for our fourth spot on the board. LJ's Rockets in effect here. So we just talked about the third straight loss for the Rockets. Now their defense has disappeared in the last three. 128 to Milwaukee, 135 to Cleveland. Now that was in overtime, and 134 to Atlanta. Mavs have lost 3 of 4, and have been playing without Kyrie. Kyrie remains out. So does Kleber. So is Lively. Kleber, Irving out. Josh Green out. Exum out. Luka out.
Yep.
So
Everybody.
Jaden Hardy at point guard. Jesus. And for the Rockets, Easton Bullock game time decision. Take a look at the line history then for this one. Sorry, I got the money line up. So let's go over to the spread, and we will pull up the cash flow as well. From a spread perspective here, we have Houston as 8.5-point favorites. They opened up at 8, moved up to 8.5, got up to 9, and it's back at 8.5. We have a half-point move towards Houston from 8 to 8.5. From a total look here, we are sitting on a 223.5. It opened up at 225. It's dropped down to 223.5. All of these numbers came out knowing that Luka wouldn't be available, so there's no concern there. And then from a cash flow standpoint, we're sitting here with the Rockets with 79% of tickets and 89% of cash. 79 and 89. The market's not moving towards them. 81% of tickets and 95% cash on the under. Look, this is an angry squad. Now, JP says NBA star players out and they win or they cover. Yes, but the problem here, and Coin seeing Miami 1.5 favorite everywhere. Wow. So those are on the legal books, I'm guessing, Coin. And JP's is seeing that as well, too. Okay, well, let me refresh everything here and see if anything's changed. The problem is that the Rockets are an angry group. I mean, how can we get past the fact that they're an angry group? I don't think we can. Take it away for us, LJ. Your Rockets at home to an undermanned Maverick squad.
Yes, Jimmy, I completely agree. And I know Udoka is going to have our team tonight with an excellent defensive performance that they've given up. How many you said the last 3 games? Over 120-some points the last 3 games?
The lowest, 128 is the lowest they've allowed.
Yeah, so that's not Rocket basketball. And Udoka, I'm telling you right now, he's going to have that team ready to play. Now, it's a shame that Dallas isn't playing their players. That's not our fault that they want to sit everybody on a Friday night on the road. Hey, that's their problem. But we are at home, ladies and gentlemen. Y'all know how I feel about the Rockets at home, especially on Friday night. So I'm on the Rockies, Jimmy, but I got a couple of ways I'm going in this game. Let's start off with the first quarter. Dallas has lost their last 3 first quarters, averaging 26 points. The Rockies are 1-2 in their last 3 first quarters, averaging 30 points. Now, if you could find me a first quarter total, I need it to be at 56 or less. If it's higher than 56, I'm not going to take it. But I'm thinking that the first quarter is going to go under, and I believe the Rockets will win the first half because they're averaging around maybe like 60 points in the first half. Dallas is also averaging around 60 points their last 3 in the first half, but they don't have Luka. He plays most of the first half. So you're taking all those points out of that offense. I just don't think that Dallas is going to have enough to keep up with us. So first quarter under, did you find it for me?
Yes, the first quarter is at 57. It's minus 111 to the under.
Let's do it. I want it. Under 57 first quarter and first half Rockets. I want the Rockets on the spread first half just because that's what I know they were shell shocked last Wednesday versus Atlanta. They did not expect Atlanta to come out and shoot 60% from the 3-point line. Nobody can predict that. So the fact that they jumped on us like that early, I know that taste is still in their mouth, and they're going to want to have a different, example tonight versus our home crowd. So I'm on the Rockets first half as well. What number do you have me at?
Minus 4.5 at minus 109.
Let's do it. They will be up by 5 because I just don't believe Dallas has enough. They're using their bench tonight. Nobody's playing. And like I said, I expect an excellent defensive performance tonight from the Rockets.
And you're getting a much better line here at Pinnacle than at other books. Bookmaker has the under 57.5 at minus 118. So you're getting a much better number here on the 57 here at minus 111.
I'm going to take a prop too. I'm going to take Jabari Smith, PRA. If you can find it for me, I think it should be like 24.5. That's where it's been at. He's hit it his last 6 games. And Dallas gives up the most points to the power forward position. So the last game he had, what did he have last game? 16. He had a 27 PRA the last game. So
They moved it up a point to 25.5 PRA.
I'll take it. 25.5 PRA for Jabari Smith. He's been playing lights out. I'll tell you, Doka has had him accountable, in this game. And like I said, I just love our team completely, man. And the fact that we've coming off 3 heartbreaking losses, I believe we're gonna get back on the winning streak tonight versus a hindered Dallas team that just want to come in here and just play their bench on us. So we're gonna handle business tonight.
Yeah, I think it really helps. It really helps that they're coming off 3 straight losses. The only problem is we've been seeing these teams step up, and it's just a vividness bias. It's a vividness bias that we all are dealing with these teams stepping up down players. And, it's going to be a Tim Hardaway throwback night. Wow. Unbelievable.
Yeah. I usually pay attention to the fade to injury theory, but tonight I just can't do it just because I know the mentality of our team. I know it. I know we're going to come out and want to get a win. I know it.
BJ says Rockets cover. The books are telling us by this number. I mean, I don't. I mean, the number I think is predicated on everybody being out. Unfortunately, I mean, that's the. I mean, yes, this is a very strong number for the Rockets. Huh.
I mean, Luka's 5 points by himself. So the fact that he's out, that's, I just believe that they knew it going in too, because he was announced out yesterday. So this is baked into the line. So.
Oh yeah, no doubt, baked into the line.
Yeah.
Huh.
And I was going to go to this game because my wife loves Luka, but the fact that he's not playing, she's like, there's no reason for us to go. She was so excited to see Luka, but hey, they're coming back like I think a couple of weeks here, so they'll be back. So it's another chance. That's why I'm saying a lot of these teams, like LeBron, sat out last night versus Minnesota. They're going back to Minnesota like a week after Christmas. So a lot of these players do that. If they're going back to that city within the schedule, that's why they take off. It's all psychological. We already know how they do it, but hey, it is what it is.
Wow. Okay. I'm gonna need more time with this spot here. It's just the subconscious just messing with me. Okay, let's move on. 2 games left on today's show. Next up for us is 10 p.m. Eastern. My Washington Wizards. God, it's funny. My ROI with them is so good this year. 4-22, 2-14 on the road at Golden State Warriors. 13-14, 7-6 at home. Chase Center in San Francisco, California. 2-3 over the past 5. Washington. 2-3. Pretty nice. What a shit basketball team they are. 105.1 possessions a game. That's 3rd fastest in the NBA over that stretch. Golden State Warriors 3-2. They're playing at a pace of 98.45 possessions a game. That's 23rd fastest in the NBA. Wizards, of course, took care of business for us yesterday. 118-117. Had them plus 4.5. That snapped their 2-game losing streak. And then this is what I believe is the final game of their home or road trip, and it is. So they head home. They play Orlando at home on December 26th, a game that will be half full at Verizon. Let's take a look at the situation for the Warriors. So, Steph got to, go like this, and all's right in fucking San Francisco. 13-14 are the Warriors, 7-6 at home, 132-126 overtime win, at home over Boston. And man, anybody who, doesn't think that the market needs to be studied intensely would have been on the Sacramento Kings in Boston's next game. The only way I was not on the Kings was because of the market. That would have been money out of my pocket unless I wasn't stymied by this line. Not even moving, not even flinching when Tatum's announced that. I mean, that's mind-boggling crazy. And it's just, I respect the people who don't care about it, but I do think that it's extremely helpful to care about it. Warriors have won 3 straight, and they're feeling good about themselves. And of course, we won't see them again until Christmas at Denver. Oh no, shoot, they play. My God, sorry. So they play. I thought they had the days off before Christmas. Wow, the Christmas is a really tough spot for the Warriors. They play Portland at home tomorrow night. So this is the first of a back-to-back against the Washington team that'll leave it all out there. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
This is a wild. Okay, let's talk about the line history here for this one. We have Washington plus 12. That's at Bet Online. Sorry, let me move over to Pinnacle. Plus 12, same number, plus 12 at minus 108. They opened up at plus 12 at minus 105. And I don't want too many things in our subconscious, but I'm telling you, these teams on the second half of back-to-backs have been playing well. This total is at 247 minus 112 to the over. It opened up at 247. It dropped down to 246, and we're back at 247. And when we look at the cash flow, you know that Kerr is going to be very tight. There's going to be heavy minute restrictions. 3 games in 4 nights, culminating in altitude at Denver on Christmas night. Obviously, I'm talking myself into the Wizards. 29% of the tickets on Washington, 76% of the cash. Sharps all over them. Oh, no. 61% of tickets and 74% cash on the under. Mikey said he sent me the second half back-to-back stats yesterday. Sorry, Mikey. It's been a rough time over here for the last little while, just not sleeping and stuff like that. I'll take a look. Thank you for taking the time to send that to me, Mikey. I'll make sure I look at it. Maybe I should pull it up right now then. Bo Jackson says, don't donate. I hear what you're saying, Bo, but 35 wins and 19 losses, 64.8% plus 14.68 units, and ROI plus 27.19%. Take it away for us here, my man. Warriors at home to the Wizards.
Jimmy, I think the Wizards are a live dog tonight. I really do. Jordan Poole coming back to Golden State, he's going to want to show out. And I think his team is going to want to show out for him. And I think a lot of people underestimate the value of Draymond Green on Golden State. When he's not on that team, they're a completely different team. So I think the Wizards are alive tonight. But I'm going to stick to the first quarter, Jimmy, because whoever wins this first quarter is going to win this game. Both these teams are good in the first quarter. Wizards 5-3 against the spread. First quarter last 8. Golden State 15-6 against the spread in the first quarter overall. So the fact that the Wizards have had 30-plus points in the first quarter, 4 out of their last 5 games, I'm going to take the Wizards to cover the first quarter in this game. And I'm going to take the over 246 that you have right there on the banner. Just because the Wizards are an over team. They don't play any defense. I believe Golden State's going to have to put up shots tonight to be offensively minded. They have it with Clay and Steph. They shoot threes. The Wizards shoot threes for the most part. So I think that total is going to go over as well, Jimmy. And I think Steph is going to go over his points as well. So I'm taking all 3 of those plays in this game. Wizards first quarter. I'm taking the total over 246. And I'm taking Steph Curry's points. It should be at 29.5, 28.5, somewhere around there. That's the number. I want to step on it.
This total has gone back up since those numbers on the total.
Oh, okay.
Here. And sorry, let me move this here and back here. From a total standpoint, can I get you a 246? No. No. I can get you over 247 at minus 108 here.
I'll do it.
Okay.
I'll do it.
That's
I think
over
250.
247 minus 108. And then we will give you here. Troy Torrance says if the Warriors didn't hate Jordan Poole, he'd be on the Wizards. It's an interesting angle too. And Circa has 246.5. Beautiful. What's the juice coin, my man? Thank you. So let's give you that 246 minus 110. Perfect. Okay, 246.5.
Shout out the coin.
Minus 110. And then from a player prop situation here, we can give you Steph Curry here at it's 29.5 here at minus 114.
Mm-hmm. Let's do it.
See if
we're gonna have 30.
Let's see if we can beat it here quickly. Take a quick look here for your player prop at Bet 365, and that is 29.5 at minus 115. So 29.5 minus 114 and minus 112. Thank you, Billy. Minus 112 we can get you. So Steph Curry over 29.5 points at minus 113. And then I guess when it comes down to it.
Did you get the first quarter, Wizards?
First quarter plus
Okay.
4 at minus 107.
All right. Sounds good.
When it comes down to this spot here, and it's not the angle of the hate for Poole is interesting, but the Wizards shot 40% from 3 and 50% from the field. I don't know if they're going to. I don't expect them to do that again. Kuzma played 37 minutes. Poole played 34 minutes. I just, I can't let what happened yesterday affect me, and I'm going to have to stay off. Even though that the sharp money is on the Wizards, and I like teams on the second half of back-to-back, this is a back-to-back with travel, albeit not much travel, but it's still enough for me to not. I got to stay off here. I can't let the fact that I cashed with them and they looked so good. They look good immediately. Are we going to expect that from this team that's 2-14 on the road, that they're just going to fly into a new city and do it again? Especially a city where the Warriors hate. I do like the situation for the Wizards, and I think that the 12 does make sense. And what are the numbers again? Let me just look at this one last time. The 70% of the tickets are in on the Warriors. 70%. And Bo Jackson says that Poole is waste. He is, and they hate him. Do you think that'll come into play here? You think that'll come into play? They'll want to stomp on the Wizards, or do you think the Warriors care?
I don't think they care about that. And the fact that Draymond is out too. Now, if Draymond was playing, I may look at it a little differently. He may want to get into it with him, talk to him, things like that. But the fact that he's not on the court, Jordan Poole doesn't have to worry about the distraction. So I think he's going to want to play tonight. And I think his team is going to want to play for him too, because of the fact of how he's been portrayed in the media. Like you said, a lot of times you got to cap psychologically too. It ain't about just what goes on the court. A lot of times, you got to get in people's head to see how mentally they are. So if Draymond was playing, I wouldn't be on the Wizards. But the fact that he's off the court, he doesn't have to deal with him distracting him in the game. I believe the Wizards are coming. Not saying they're going to win the game. I'm not saying that, but I think they'll keep it within margin, considering he's coming back.
I'm concerned that I'm leaving money on the table here, but I do not want to ever. I know it's they're 12-point dogs, so it's not like you're buying them, low, or buying them high, I should say, because they're still 12-point dogs. But still, they looked so good last night. Why would I expect them to be able to do it again? Okay. And then Saturated would want Podziemski in the game, which he may be. He's listed as a game time decision. God, this game's going to be in my head all day. At this point, I'm not moving on this after the show. I'd be curious to see what happens with the line. I don't want to give back what I made yesterday, and that's not a part of it. I just don't want to believe what I saw yesterday. In NBA, it's like horse racing. You can't always believe what you just saw. All right, let's move on. But Robert Franklin moving on Washington plus 12. And Troy says he likes LJ's look better. Bet them early. He might be riding with you on that first quarter. All right, so LJ tripling up on that spot. Let's talk about the final spot here on today's show. The final spot on the board until after Christmas, our final game before Christmas Day. Wishing you guys all just a great, great Merry Christmas, great holidays. 10 p.m. Eastern. The Phoenix Suns at the Sacramento Kings. Suns 14-13, 7-5 on the road. The Kings 16-10, 10-4 home with the Golden One Center in Sacramento, California. And Nunya asking about Northridge here. Let's just take a little peek at what is happening here. Vermont up 21-17 on Miami of Ohio. Miami of Ohio now plus 6.5. Boston University trying to get back in this UMass Lowell game. And then James Madison only up 7 here with 8 minutes left in the first. The live spreads exactly where it was. Okay, let's roll here. This spot, let's set the table. And, of course, the Kings coming off that very ugly loss at home against a supposedly tired Celtics team. They lose 144-119 to snap their 3-game losing streak. They let the Wizards put up 131, and then the Celtics put up 144. It has to be an awareness of defense here tonight. And then the Suns coming off losing at Portland. You have two angry teams going at each other, with Portland with an extra day of rest here. We saw what that extra day of rest did for the Wizards last night. From a spread perspective here, we are sitting with Sacramento as 3.5-point favorites, -3.5 and -102. Opened up at 3.5, dropped to 3 for a little bit, and it's back at 3.5. From a total look here, we have a 243.5. And sorry, that's the wrong book. We have a 244. It's gone up to 244. This opened up at 245. This opened up at 245, got all the way down to 243. It got to 246 and then went all the way down to 243.5, 242.5. And now it's come all the way, well, not all the way back, but it's at 244. So we still have a 2-point move to the under. Take a look at the cash flows then for this one. We have, let me move this up here. Cash flow wise, we have 17% of the tickets and 46% of the cash on the Phoenix Suns. And then 22% of the tickets and 52% of cash on the under. Interesting. The Suns appear to be sharp. Take it away for us here. Phoenix Suns, Sacramento Kings, Golden One Center. LJ, floor is yours, my man.
Yes, sir, Jimmy. Another home favorite on a Friday. And the Kings are coming off a loss versus those Celtics. So I believe that this game is going to go over, is my play. But as far as the sides, I just think the Suns got to get some stuff together. You know, they turn the ball over a lot. They don't have a true point guard handling the ball. So a lot of their offense be sporadic a lot of times, you know, just spot up shooting, taking non-contested shots and things like that. You know, it's just, I don't like how their offense, I think Booker is trying to do too much, trying to keep up the scoring as well as facilitate. Just taking a lot of people out of their positions. And the fact that Bradley Beal is hurt again, it's just so unfortunate, man. And I have a friend in Phoenix that I talk about the Suns all the time. And I tell him that it's just hard for the Suns to stay healthy. And he always tells me, well, that you can say that about every team. Yeah, you can. But just certain teams just have that injury bug. And I think the Suns are one of those teams. So, but all that said, I do believe they're going to try to bounce back. This is a divisional game, too. So they usually play good in their division. But they came off a loss versus Portland, was very embarrassing, in my opinion. So I believe they're going to be primed to come and play tonight. As far as Sacramento, they're at home. Nurkic is out, so that means Sabonis should have his way in the paint, you know. So I would look at Sabonis points, props, rebounds, things like that, as far as the prop side. But full game over, Jimmy, is what I'm going to go. Kings are 10-2 to the over as a home favorite. 9 of their last 10 home games have gone over. So, and the fact that the Suns are giving me 115 around their last 3 games. The Kings are giving me around 129, 130 their last 3 games. That puts you at a 244 total right there. So I believe that total goes over. I believe a lot of points will be scored. And I believe that Sacramento will probably pull it out at the end, but I believe it'll be close. So I'm just going to trust that the total goes over instead of trying to take a side.
You got it. You got it. Over 243.5 -108 at Pinnacle. It's 244 -110 to the over. Oh, sorry. 243.5 -108 at Heritage. At Pinnacle, it's 244 and -110 to the over here. Matty Ice in the house delivering the taint play of the day just in time. Right before we put a bow on this show, Matty Ice comes in and delivers sweet, sweet taint to bless our holidays. The taint play today, SMU -5.5. SMU -5.5 from our guy, Matty Ice. All right, let's review all action in NBA. LJ gets started with the 76ers first quarter -2.5, -114. Then he's on Embiid over 35.5 points at -101. Then LJ is on the Nuggets first quarter -1. I will be on the Brooklyn Nets. I've got to see what I get for 4.5. Then I will be on the Atlanta Hawks. I will be on the Nets and the Hawks. And LJ is on the first quarter under 57 at -111. Rockets first half -4.5. And Jabari Smith, PRA over 25.5 -113. I will not be on the Rockets, and I will not be on the Wizards. I've just got to keep this shit as clean as possible. Bo Jackson is on the Nets money line here. I love that. That gives me more confidence. And then Top Shelf says Booker over and Suns money line for Top Shelf. Brooklyn plus 4.5 minus 105. Wow, minus 105 at Bovada. Huh. So they're even. You would think that would be more juice. I wonder is the market going to start moving towards the Nuggets? It probably will. I mean, you know that the public on a Friday night. Oh, it's 4.5 here at Penny at minus 108. And then let me just quickly get into what it is here at 365. I shouldn't get cold feet. I wonder if I should wait. Yeah, it's 4.5 minus 110, 4.5 across board. I wonder if I should wait and see if the public comes in and gets us that 5. Dan Kelly says, good luck, boys, unless you're on the other side of me. We need to know what side you're on, Dan. That's what we need to know, Dan.
Right.
We want to know your action, and we want to know it badly. So let us know, Dan. Pop it in the chat. We need to know what the great Dan Kelly's on. We need to know, Dan. And Troy, excited to see Matty Ice. Says, ain't seen a taint in a minute. It's because your wife just gave birth, Troy. It's going to be more than a minute. It's going to be a while for you. And maybe you don't even want to see that taint for a while. That is our show for today. LJ, love rocking with you. You know, we believe in you enormously, and we know you're going to get that cash. And this is just a part of the roller coaster ride. It's part of the roller coaster ride. We're going to start climbing, man. Thank you for all your hard work. Please follow LJ on X at LJ Sports Media. And you can catch LJ here every Friday. We got Bobano and LJ every Friday here on Betting with the Bag. And you can also catch LJ on our Monday night live streams. Looks like we only have one more Monday nighter this year. That's January 15th, playoff Monday nighter. I'm not sure what else. But you're the man, LJ. Any last words here for the... Oh, and tell us what's going on Raw Words Podcast. What's going on your channel?
Oh man, just I haven't put out any content a couple of weeks. Been doing a lot. It's the holidays, we already know. If I get a chance, I will put out a show this week. But I just been on other streams, man. Doing the live streams with everybody else. You, Dave, Wham. Everybody invite me on, man. I'm just giving my expertise, trying to give out my plays so we all can try to cash, man. But just want to tell everybody happy holidays, Merry Christmas to everybody. And interesting note, the Rockets, we have 9 out of our next 10 games down here in Toyota Center. And we have some interesting games coming up. Pacers, Suns, 76ers, the Bucks, the Nets, the Timberwolves are coming. And I have a package to where I'm giving out giveaway tickets for the Rockets. If you are in Houston, and you're on the stream right now, hit me on Twitter at LJ Sports Media. I'll give you the details on how you can get some free Rocket tickets for the holidays. So hit me up. Anybody interested, let me know. I have some I can give away. Just want to have a giving heart for this holiday season. For all the people that has followed me and supported me on the show, I'm giving back. So hit me up on Twitter, and I'll give you all the information. But until then, Jimmy, always love it, man. Captain with your NBA. And I will see you soon on a live stream somewhere so we can cash.
I love it. You're the man, LJ. Thank you so much. And what a cool opportunity for everybody. The real deal, LJ in the house, getting a lot of love. Thank you, LJ, my man. And the Chillest blessing our action with a $5 dono. Thank you, the Chillest Fat Cat Ninja in the house. Merry Christmas to you, my man. And let's review all action here on the show. So my only college basketball spot at this point is Miami of Ohio. They're down 1 right now, 31-30 with 152 left. I think we're on the right track. Look, I want action as much as anybody. And the idea that if I was going to add anything else, if I lose this, I think I might open it up a little more, but I lean to Missouri, but the market hasn't, tipped its hand. So I don't know if I want to move on it. And then I like Loyola Marymount, but do I have the conviction to go up against Bobano's Colorado State? Not at this point. I do have the over in the Gasparilla Bowl, so at least I have that. In NHL, I have the Detroit Red Wings. If this is just going to be a very calm evening, I guess it is. You got to take what the sports, what the schedule gives you. So that would mean that I would have the over in the Gasparilla Bowl. I have the Detroit Red Wings -1, which I love. I love it. It's I would say my favorite bet on the board. And then I guess if I cash this, I'll be 1-0, and I've still kept my college basketball units $150, so it's just like it's only 136.36 profit at that point. But then I would move into the 2 spots in NBA. I don't mind it. I don't mind that. North End says keep it clean, Jimmy. Just win, baby. Great work last month. Look, I gave a lot of money back here. I gave a lot of money back in NFL last weekend. It had been a spectacular month, dude. But it's just about dealing with the ebbs and flows. And I guess I needed a wake up call, a little slap in the face. But one thing I know is that rolling with you guys, that you guys have my back, and it just means so much. And I hope I get the opportunity to hang and say thank you and hang with you in person at San Antonio. But truly know that I have nothing without the support that you guys give me and then give us at Pub Sports Radio. It just means so much. So shout out to all of you guys. Troy Torrance, Bo Jax, looks like some Edgar Allan Poe talk in the chat. Dan Kelly, Gold 44, Jarek White, Orlando, Mikey, Matty Ice, Lexicon, Ian Shaber, Philly Eagle Flyer. Thank you guys. The fix is in. Jay Peasy. Our guy Jay Peasy. Gotta be in San Antonio, man. We haven't had enough Jay Peasy time, man. I didn't get to hang with you in LA. We need you in San Antonio. Nunya. Thank you guys. Cam Raphael, a lucky lefty, aka Oliver Page, Astute Chaos, aka Sly Astute. Thank you guys. Robert Franklin. Thank you guys. Thank you all. Thank you all. Have a wonderful holidays. A great Christmas here. And we're going to put a bow on today's show. Don't forget, 6 p.m., we got Mikey Money in the house with Last Call. Then Saturday, we have Jeff Nadeau's show for college basketball, which rolls into our live stream, which is Butler Providence, hosted by CMAC and Dabby Cab. And then we have a little break Friday, a week from now. 1 week from now, we have our poker tournament. We need it to be fully locked. We need a ton of people in it. We're going to be hammering it. We'll be talking about it all next week on my show, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So no shows for me now. I'm going to be off Saturday the 23rd, Sunday the 24th, Monday the 25th, and then I'll be back in business with Troy Torrance on Bankroll Blitz on the 26th. Kelly McInnes, Billy Friedrich, DC Capper, all of you guys, thank you so much. Top Shelf. Love you guys. Thank you for your support. Have a great Christmas. Get that cash. Let's succeed at this. And thank you guys so much, man. Respect. Merry Christmas. See you guys on Tuesday with Bankroll Blitz.
Pub Sports Radio's the crew, that's a fact. We all about bread, making bank accounts fat. Who the hell is that? LJ from the H, I stack green like Boston. Shout out to Nasty Nate from down south, where we ride on slab. 420 highway smoking with that boy Dabby Cab. Swing by Dallas with them Cowboy fans so we can smoke out J Money, cause you know that's our mans. Us against the bookies, put money in our pockets. Fly out to Vegas, meet up with Ski Profit. Hit the sports books, we got money to stack. Can't forget them college picks with that boy Connor Mack.
Oh, I can't get my mouth around that thing. Oh.